Chapter 1650. Etienne busied himself for a long time, and all he did was release a hint of the evil spirit's aura, and all of them immediately knelt before him with reverence and reverence. This was a far cry from what they had been receiving in the past. All of the evil spirit tribe living beings who were gossiping about him also obediently shut their mouths and didn't dare to say anything. In the blink of an eye, she had become a descendant of an evil god. This made her equal to the evil emperor, or rather, slightly lower. She was basically on the same level as the queen, who would dare to say anything under these circumstances. At the very least, none of them dared to do so anymore. Even Gokai didn't dare to say anything. He could only pray that Etienne wouldn't pursue this matter, and that would already be extremely fortunate. However, what was even more tragic for Etienne was that he had worked so hard for nothing. He had even tried to sneak in and establish a good relationship with Huan Mingyue. Now, he didn't even need to establish a good relationship with Huan Mingyue. He had become one of them, and he even had to refer to the evil empress as uncle. Of course, the main reason was that he didn't dare to take this risk. Unless he had no other choice, he really didn't dare to release the power of the evil spirits in case he was detected. Now, it looked like he had been overthinking things. He should have released it from the very beginning, but he had always been cautious and didn't want to expose himself as much as possible. Looks like I've worked so hard for nothing. All I have to do is release the power of the evil spirits a little, and everything will be much easier. Etienne shrugged in a resigned manner within the evil spirit puppet's body. Even the heavenly doom god was very surprised by this turn of events. He really couldn't turn things around. This evil spirit puppet of yours is truly powerful. Even with the evil emperor's probing, it was still unable to detect it. The heavenly doom god was completely flabbergasted. If possible, I really would like to pay a higher price to cultivate this mystic technique. I can't do that. This is a mystic technique, so even if the price you're offering is very tempting, I can only refuse. Some things can't be taught just because I want to. Etienne shrugged. The heavenly misfortune god nodded in agreement. However, what she thought was that Etienne was limited by the fact that he could only impart it to her, so he couldn't impart it to others unless Etienne's master approved it. Little did they know that the reason why Etienne couldn't teach it to others was because it wasn't a secret technique. It was just a simple assembly. However, he was the only one who could execute this assembly. No one else could. When others killed their opponents, how could these materials drop? No matter what, we have officially snuck in. When the time comes, we will find time to capture this princess. A cold light flashed through the heavenly misfortune god's eyes. As long as he could control the dark illusion moon, he would at least be able to alleviate the situation. That's for sure. Etienne nodded. Then, he sat down next to the evil emperor beside the empress and the others. Originally, as a participant, or more accurately, as a performer, they had to put on a show in front of their superiors. Now that he had become a superior, he watched as the evil spirit race continued to fight and kill each other. No matter who won first place, it had nothing to do with him. Even the first place had to kneel before him to speak. This was the position of a superior. This sudden turn of events struck all of the evil spirit race powerful beings who had initially viewed Etienne as their opponent in disbelief. They had been opponents just a moment ago, but they had become subordinates in the next instant. There was an insurmountable gap between them. As soon as he sat down, Huan Mingyue's gaze locked onto him, and their eyes met. Etienne met her gaze, and a burst of power soon surged from her eyes, drilling into his eyes and striking straight into the depths of his heart. However, Etienne quickly severed this connection so that this power couldn't continue to seep into his heart. Mind-reading technique. Etienne's heart jolted. He didn't think that such a sinister technique would exist. Dark Illusion Moon's technique was similar to the mind-reading technique. As long as one stared closely at him, they would be able to read the secrets in his heart through their eyes. The longer he stared, the more secrets he could read. It was much more powerful than the soul search. He never thought that Dark Illusion Moon would actually have a secret technique similar to mind-reading technique. This was a divine skill that even Etienne was unable to draw. He had always wanted to draw a similar divine skill, but he had never drawn one, or rather, there was none at all. Of course, this was also a very rude display. If he was sensed, he would be extremely angry. However, he was using Dark Illusion Moon, so even if he had a temper, he would have to suppress it. Lady Empress, what do you mean by this? Tianyin asked calmly. There's no other meaning. I just feel that you're different. Dark Illusion Moon looked at him indifferently and said, Are you willing to let me look at you for a while longer? No problem. Feel free to look. Tianyin continued to look straight into her eyes. Dark Illusion Moon's beautiful eyes flashed, and then another wave of power seeped in. This time, Tianyin had cut off the connection and allowed Dark Illusion Moon to look. What Dark Illusion Moon really saw was just an empty shell. Without the support of Tianyin's soul, she naturally couldn't see his memories. After moving around for a while, Dark Illusion Moon said in shock, I can't see anything. How did you do this? She looked around and realized that she couldn't see any memories. It was like she had entered an empty room with nothing. Do you want to know? When this is over, come find me. Tianyin smiled and buried a lead. Dark Illusion Moon stared at him. After a while, she turned her head and said, Okay, when this is over, I will come find you. In the evil spirit puppet space, Tianyin was shocked. He hadn't thought it would be so simple. Is it that easy to lure here? Tianyin didn't expect it to be so easy. He just casually said yes. Isn't this great? Heavenly God Misfortune was elated. When she comes to your room, I will capture her. When that happens, we will immediately escape from here and achieve our goal. Everything was going so smoothly. The only downside was that this puppet was going to be crippled. With so many spies around, no matter where Dark Illusion Moon went, people would know where she was. After entering Tianyin's room, she didn't come out again, so there was definitely something wrong. As such, after escaping, this evil spirit puppet would be crippled. However, capturing Dark Illusion Moon, the princess of the evil spirit tribe, who also had the bloodline of the Heaven Creator tribe, was quite worth it. I hope everything is as easy as we think. Tianyin had a feeling that things weren't as simple as they seemed. This Dark Illusion Moon wasn't as simple as she looked. Then, they turned their attention back to the competition. The rest of the competition was basically a battle to the death. However, the result had nothing to do with him anymore. Chapter 1651. The competition is over soon. Tianyin doesn't know who won first place. He doesn't care about it anymore. He wasn't even paying attention to this. Instead, he was looking around to see who was hostile toward him. A descendant of the evil spirits had suddenly appeared, so there would definitely be evil spirit tribe members who would be displeased. As such, he wanted to see who was the one who was displeased with him. After looking around, he discovered that there were many people who were displeased with him, especially those who were his opponents before. They all felt that Tianyin was like a chicken feather turned into a phoenix, suddenly flying up to the sky. This kind of treatment made them feel very uncomfortable. Tianyin doesn't care about this kind of thing. It's normal for him to have this kind of idea. What he really cared about was the thoughts of the elders. Setting aside Gokai, even though his status had been elevated, they were still very displeased with him. How could Heavenly God Gokai have a good impression of him, especially when he was threatening his own identity? After looking around carefully, he discovered that there was almost no one who truly had a favorable impression of him. In other words, the only one who had a favorable impression of him was Huan Mingyue. This was very strange. Huan Mingyue had a favorable impression of him? The one who was the most hostile toward him was none other than the evil emperor. The evil emperor, who had made Tianyin refer to him as Uncle Evil Emperor, was the one who was the most hostile toward him. He appeared to be very benevolent and had an extremely good attitude toward him, but he was also extremely hostile toward him. He was the one who was the most hostile toward him. Even when compared to Gokai, he didn't feel as much hostility toward him. However, his daughter, Huan Mingyue, had a favorable impression of him. This was extremely strange. They were polar opposites. How strange! Tianyin's brows furrowed. He couldn't read minds, so he didn't know what the evil emperor was thinking. What's strange? Heavenly God Doom asked upon seeing Tianyin's brows furrowed. The evil emperor is extremely hostile toward me. Tianyin looked at heavenly god Doom. The one who is the most hostile toward me is the evil emperor. Looks like he thinks that my return has threatened his position. Very likely. The evil spirit tribe is very concerned about their status, and status determines everything. You've suddenly returned, so how can he not be hostile toward you? Heavenly Doom God said in a grim voice. Perhaps he'll send someone to kill you someday. So he's not afraid of the evil spirits descending? Tianyin was a little conflicted at the thought of the evil spirits. Of course I am, but who knows when the seal on the evil god will be lifted? The heavenly misfortune god chuckled. Besides, how would the evil god know if I killed you in secret? But if the evil spirits descend, then his status will drop. Tianyin didn't really understand these things. Because the evil spirits are a paramount being. If they descend, they will at most become their leader, but you have a chance to replace his position. Heavenly God Doom was very familiar with this topic, as expected of the daughter of the Fecta region lord. That's true. Looks like you really know a lot, Heavenly God Doom. Tianyin looked at her with a smile. I thought you only knew how to research stuff like the Fecta region lord. Heavenly God Doom rolled her eyes. As the daughter of the Fecta region lord, I have to assist him in his management. How could I only know how to research stuff like that? Tianyin recalled the Fecta region lord's crazed expression and realized that this was indeed the case. Speaking of which, I think your father's crazy research into the evil spirit's bead also has something to do with you. Tianyin looked at Heavenly God Doom with a smile. He's probably going to kill Gokai after he finishes his research. Father, Heavenly God Doom nodded with a scorching light in his eyes. Then let's go back as soon as this is over. We can't let them worry. If he really does come, then things will be even more troublesome. But my father is very calm, very terrifyingly calm. Indeed, I can't even tell that he's grieving over the loss of his daughter. Your sister is the same. She doesn't show any grief, but that's all on the surface. Tianyin shook his head. His entire family was terrifyingly calm. They had to do this for the sake of the bigger picture. How could they not be sad that they couldn't avenge their sister? However, they had no choice but to suppress this rage and continue. If they were to expose themselves, it would have a severe impact on the Fecta realm, so they could only calm down. Tianyin was very impressed by their calmness. If he were in their shoes, he would most likely have come alone. They were looking at the bigger picture, and Tianyin would also look at the bigger picture. However, he wouldn't draw the help of the entire divine realm. Instead, he would come alone and slowly exhaust them to death. Of course, it's a good thing you didn't die. I wonder what kind of expressions they'll have when you get back. Tianyin smiled. The situation outside was beginning to change. The competition was over, so the coronation ceremony was about to reach its most critical conclusion. This time, she was not only facing the elders in front of her, but also all of the evil spirit tribe in this area. The evil emperor waved a hand, and the scene in this area was projected outside. At the same time, a tall platform was constructed in front of them. The evil emperor slowly walked up with the empress, and their auras continued to proliferate outward. Huan Mingyue put on a lavish dress and followed the evil emperor onto the platform to carry out this grand coronation ceremony. After the evil emperor placed a luxurious crown on her head, the whole coronation ceremony ended. I will lead the evil spirit tribe toward an even more glorious future. I am the daughter of the divine lord. Huan Mingyue's entire appearance changed in an instant. She held the scepter in her hand and pressed it on the ground, causing a berserk energy to spread out in all directions. It actually covered the entire palace and even spread out. The entire world seemed to have turned a few degrees colder, and it quickly dropped. With just her own strength, she was able to cause the world to change color, causing all of the evil spirit tribe to feel extremely shocked. Was this the power of the Empress? When Tianyin, who was below the stage, felt this impact, he felt that it was incomparably powerful. It didn't feel like the power of a middle heavenly god, but the power of an upper heavenly god. This was an effect that exploded out in an instant, and when it spread out, it wasn't as terrifying as before. It quickly started to weaken and wouldn't cause any harm to them. Just what kind of strange energy is this Empress's body? Yi Tianyun rubbed his chin, guessing the source of this energy. The power in Huan Mingyue's body allowed her to possess even more power. However, this energy didn't seem to match her. Chapter 1652. The domineering and powerful coronation ceremony ended just like that. When the announcement was made, many of the evil spirit race outside were stunned. They never thought that a royal daughter would appear. For a time, many of the evil spirit race discussed animatedly, especially Huan Mingyue's appearance, which was the focus of their discussion. This appearance did not look like that of the evil spirit race at all. Only a small part of it looked like the evil spirit race, such as that aura. At least in terms of appearance, she did not look like the evil spirit race at all. This made them feel very strange. If that was the case, then how could she become their royal daughter? Here, I announce that Huan Mingyue has become the evil spirit divine country's royal daughter. The evil emperor did not explain too much, and instead announced this matter in front of the people. They did not need to know why they had made this choice. All they needed to know was that Huan Mingyue was their royal daughter. That was enough. Explaining this kind of thing to the elders was enough. As for the other citizens, they only needed to announce it. The group of evil spirit races looked at each other, but in the end, they still cheered. Even though they did not understand, they still supported the evil emperor's announcement. After the announcement, the banquet also came to an end. Yi Tianyun was quickly arranged to rest on this floor. Only the highest level existences could live on this floor. See, evil spirit, this will be your residence from now on. Are you satisfied? The evil emperor came to the area where Yi Tianyun lived. This area was simply a mansion. The decorations were extremely luxurious, and the area was even wider. Many beautiful evil spirit race maids could be lined up in 2 rows, standing at the side respectfully. Evil Emperor Uncle, I just came up, I'm not used to it. Yi Tianyun pretended to not be used to it, and looked even more restrained. This is what you deserve. If you're not used to it, you can live here from now on. You can use the resources here as you please and quickly raise your cultivation. The evil emperor laughed. But there is one thing I need to make clear to you first. You are now a descendant of Lord Evil Spirits. This is a bit of a deterrent, but you have to do something. I've looked into your situation, and it's basically a blank slate. There's not much to be found. The evil emperor stared at him and said, That's why you must perform meritorious deeds. Only then will you be able to stand firm here. Only then will you be able to enjoy everything. Only then will you be able to stand above others. I have a mission on hand recently. If you complete it well, you will be able to secure this position and save Lord Evil Spirits at the same time. What mission? Yi Tianyun's eyes were filled with eagerness. Actually, he already knew what the mission was. Find out the location of the affected divine realm and retrieve the evil spirit's orb at the same time. If you succeed, you will have made a great contribution, Evil Emperor said with a smile. At that time, you will be able to stabilize your position and let everyone know your strength. No problem. Then I'll accept this mission. Yi Tianyun knew that he would be given a quest related to the evil spirit's orb, but he had to admit that this quest was very difficult. The evil emperor knew the whereabouts of the other evil spirit's orbs, but he didn't send him there. Instead, he was sent to investigate the affected divine realm. That was even stranger. Of course, the affected divine realm isn't easy to find, but I have some news recently. You can take it and investigate it. This is all I can help you with. Evil Emperor patted him on the shoulder and handed him an astrolabe. Yi Tianyun took the astrolabe and checked the location on it. His expression was filled with joy. Uncle Evil Emperor, I won't let you down. He cursed in his heart. How is this the location of the affected divine realm? It was completely unrelated. It looked like a random area. All right, I'll leave the rest to you. Evil Emperor patted him on the shoulder with an expression of anticipation. After Evil Emperor walked out, his smile quickly disappeared and was replaced with a cold expression. When he goes to that place to complete his mission, capture him and lock him up in that area. Understood? Understood. The 2 heavenly gods beside him nodded, indicating that they understood the mission. As the evil emperor's absolute slave, they had to do everything they could. The heretical god force for it to suddenly appear, I fear will pose a threat to my status. Seeing as that's the case, I'll take control of it and extract your bloodline bit by bit before seizing the power of the evil spirits." Evil Emperor wore a ferocious expression as a crimson light flashed through his eyes. In his eyes, Etianyin was here to deliver his bloodline. Even though he couldn't find anything, that didn't stop him from trying. After Evil Emperor left, Etianyin's smile also quickly disappeared, leaving behind an expressionless face. This Evil Emperor really is up to no good. Looks like I'll definitely be surrounded and attacked if I go there. Etianyin shook his head. Even though he had already guessed that this would happen, it was still very cruel of him to make a move so quickly. "That's right. What will you do then? Will you go or not?" Heavenly God Misfortune asked with a smile. "Of course I'll go. I want to see what kind of powerful beings they'll send." Etianyin was quite expectant. If they were all lesser heavenly gods, then he would be able to kill them all and earn a massive sum of money. "All right, I'll take care of them with you when the time comes." Heavenly God Misfortune swung his little fist through the air. "I won't hold back against these guys." Just as they were discussing something, a beautiful figure drifted in from outside. It was Huan Mingyue. Her father had just left, and she had followed him in. She had even walked in openly. "I'm here." Huan Mingyue's expression was indifferent. She really did come as she had promised. Etianyin and the others all faltered upon hearing this. They didn't think that Huan Mingyue would arrive so quickly. They had thought that she would only arrive after a while. One had to realize that the coronation ceremony had just concluded in the morning, so it was a bit too soon for her to arrive in the afternoon. Most importantly, they had thought that they would be able to set up some formations, but it was too late now. "Do you think you'll be able to control her?" "Yes, I do, but it's going to be quite difficult. However, if we miss this opportunity, we probably won't be able to find a better one." "That's true. Let's get ready." Etianyin and the others looked at one another and immediately prepared to attack. Now that things had come to this, he could only brace himself and do it. Who knew when she would come again after leaving this time? Even if he invited her, she probably wouldn't come again. "Your Highness, you're here." Etianyin made his way toward her with a smile. "Please come in. This is not a good place to stay." Huan Mingyue nodded, not suspecting anything, and followed them in. Chapter 1653. After they entered, Huan Mingyue didn't put up any defenses, as if she had never thought that Etianyin would launch a sneak attack on her. As the princess, her status was high and mighty, and Etianyin's cultivation base was so much lower than hers, so there was naturally no way she would think that Etianyin would launch a sneak attack on her. In the instant that Huan Mingyue entered the room, Heavenly Misfortune God and Etianyin immediately rushed out of the ghoul puppet's body. Heavenly Misfortune God even tossed out a rope. This was no ordinary rope. This was a heavenly god's spirit treasure that she had specially made. As the daughter of the Fecta region lord, she definitely had a lot of resources, so it wasn't surprising that she could materialize a heavenly god spirit treasure. However, her heavenly god spirit treasure was a rather special rope-type treasure that could be controlled. In an instant, he turned into countless ropes, wrapping the area in circles. He did not even try to negotiate with Huan Mingyue. In the blink of an eye, these ropes had bound her several times. Everything was going so smoothly. It could be said that Huan Mingyue was bound almost without any obstruction. Good, she's been bound. As long as she's caught by my god-binding rope, she won't be able to break free in a short period of time. Heavenly Misfortune God's eyes lit up. It was naturally a good thing that things were going so smoothly. When they continued to strengthen the seal, Huan Mingyue didn't struggle in the slightest. She still maintained her calm expression and allowed them to do as they pleased. They were all stunned to see that Huan Mingyue wasn't struggling. They had thought that she would struggle a little, but to their surprise, she didn't struggle at all and allowed them to seal her as they pleased. They were only stunned for a moment, but Heavenly Misfortune God didn't slow down in the slightest. She quickly put seals on the god-binding rope and threw out one jade stone after another, which she nailed onto the god-binding rope to strengthen the binding effect. "Wait!" Etianyin signaled for Heavenly Misfortune God to stop. The Heavenly Misfortune God immediately stopped and looked at him with a perplexed expression. What is it? She's not struggling. Tianyin frowned. He did not know why Huan Mingyu did not struggle. If she did not react in time, then she would not have said anything. But now, she did not struggle at all. It was very strange. She's not struggling. Heavenly God Doom had also discovered the problem, and he turned to look at Huan Mingyue to find that she was not panicking in the slightest. At that moment, Huan Mingyue slowly said, "You don't have to continue sealing me. I won't run away. I came here this time because I want to run away with you." What? The two of them looked at each other. This was very strange. The words that came out of his mouth made them very confused. He actually said that he wanted to escape with them. It would be normal for him to scold someone. Now, he said that he would escape with them. This was extremely strange and exceeded their expectations. "You're saying that you want to escape with us? Aren't you the princess here?" Tianyin arrived in front of Huan Mingyue and sized her up, wondering if she had gone crazy. "You really are not from the evil spirit race. Looks like what I saw in that instant was not an illusion," Huan Mingyue said indifferently. She was very calm, and it could be said that nothing could stir up any ripples in her heart. She always maintained this expression no matter what. "Looks like you still managed to read a trace of my memory in that instant." Tianyin had cut it off very quickly, but it was still a little too late. A trace of her memory had been read. However, it was not much, just a trace. For example, a certain image or a certain scene, such as the scene in the evil spirit puppet dimension. It was basically the most superficial memory, which was the memory that had just been obtained and not very deep memories. For example, it was impossible to read things like the crazy mode system. Unless she kept staring at it, it was impossible to see it. I only saw an image for a moment, and I even wondered if I was seeing things. It looks like I wasn't. Huan Mingyue looked at the two of them and said, "Neither of you are from the evil spirit race. Even though you have the aura of the evil spirit race and have concealed it perfectly, I was still able to see through it." Heavenly God Misfortune did not refute this. In the face of these powerful beings, it was not difficult for them to be seen through with a single glance. "No matter what the situation is now, you can take me and escape as soon as possible. Of course, I can't escape too far, so it's best if you give me a stronger seal to completely stabilize me." Huan Mingyue's words became more and more bizarre, and no one knew what she was saying. "What do you mean?" Tianyin frowned. "Aren't you the princess? You want to escape?" "Indeed, I am the princess, but I don't want to be the princess, and I don't want to be a member of the evil spirit race." "How disgusting!" Huan Mingyue spat coldly. "If I could, I would really want to get rid of all of my bloodline. I don't want to leave any evil spirit race bloodline behind. I only want to keep my mother's bloodline." Her mother's bloodline was undoubtedly the bloodline of the Heaven Creator race. Who would have thought that she would say something like this? It was clear that she was extremely disgusted with the evil spirit race. As such, there was a huge contradiction. As a princess, how could she be so disgusted with the evil spirit race? You hate the evil spirit race so much? No matter what, the evil emperor is still your father. I don't have a father like that. How disgusting. He has insulted countless Heaven Creator race females, and my mother is one of them. If their bloodline is too thin or has no value, he will kill them. Huan Mingyue was disgusted. "Do you think someone like him is worthy of being my father? If it weren't for the fact that my bloodline is quite powerful and that I crawled out from a pile of corpses, I probably wouldn't be alive now." "Then why aren't you escaping?" Tianyin immediately felt like he had asked a bunch of stupid questions. If she could escape, she would have done so a long time ago. Why would she use them to escape? "Escape? I can't escape. There are too many spies, and he forced me to sign an absolute slave contract. No matter where I escape, he will be able to sense me. As long as I am within his sensing range, he can order me. Do you think I can escape?" Huan Mingyue said coldly. They sucked in a breath of cold air. This was too ruthless. How was she a daughter? She was a slave. No wonder she had been expressionless. How could she be happy about these things? The most tragic thing was that her heart was dead. Under complete despair, there was no joy to speak of. Everything had nothing to do with her. Even death was a luxury. Chapter 1654. Get rid of this absolute slave contract. Absolute slave contracts were much more vicious than normal slave contracts, and the price one had to pay was also quite high. The price he was referring to was naturally not Juan Minuet, but the evil emperor. For example, a lot of materials had to be paid, and it was already quite difficult to set up. As such, many powerful beings wouldn't establish an absolute slave contract like this. Compared to normal slave contracts, the biggest difference between the two was the ability to sense one's location. Not only could the absolute slave contract allow one to sense one's location from extremely far away, but it could also be said that it could sense one's general location no matter where one went. That way, one would be able to track one's location directly. Aside from that, there was absolute obedience. As long as one was within a certain range, one would be able to control one's actions with their divine sense. Normal slave contracts couldn't do this. As long as one was far away, one's senses would disappear, and it would be very difficult to find one's location. However, the mark would always be there, so one wouldn't be able to escape even if they encountered one day. Furthermore, normal slave contracts could only be ordered verbally, unlike absolute slave contracts, which could be controlled with one's divine sense. It could be said that this was quite a freak and possessed absolute control. Etienne didn't know how large the range of control was, but one thing was for sure. It was extremely vast. At the very least, he would be able to control one's location from several divine realms away with just a single divine sense. It's going to be too difficult to escape. Heavenly God, Doom, shook his head. As long as we leave his range, the evil emperor will be able to sense us immediately. It looks like we're in trouble this time. Heavenly God Doom was feeling quite troubled. It could be said that they had failed. As soon as she heard about this absolute slave contract, she knew that she wouldn't be able to escape. As soon as they left a certain area, the evil emperor would be able to sense them and chase after them. Who could escape from him? Furthermore, he could control her to escape at will within this area. There was no need to worry about that. All he had to do was seal Juan Mingwe. That way, as long as she couldn't struggle, she wouldn't be able to escape. However, the evil emperor was still the key. This was his territory, so it would be extremely difficult to escape. How do you know if you don't try? Juan Mingwe looked at him. Didn't you come here to capture me? This is your chance. Not only do I know a lot of information about the evil spirit tribe, but I also know a lot of secrets. You'll know everything if you take me away from here. But if we take you with us, we'll definitely die. Heavenly God Misfortune didn't think that he would encounter a situation like this. Who would have thought that Juan Mingwe would have an absolute slave vow? Her own daughter was actually made to swear an absolute slave oath. It seemed that this princess was not as glorious as she appeared on the surface. She was completely a slave puppet. Juan Mingwe stared at them. After a while, he shook his head and said, "All right then. If that's the case, you can leave. I'll pretend that you never appeared. As for what other plans you have, I advise you to leave as soon as possible. Otherwise, you will be exposed soon." You want to expose me? Heavenly God Misfortune's brows furrowed. Didn't you say you didn't want to side with the evil spirit race? You want to expose me now? They could all tell that Juan Mingwe was telling the truth and not lying. Some emotions could not be faked just because one wanted to. Moreover, if he really wanted them to be caught, why did he have to go through so much trouble? He would have sent people to catch them long ago. It's not that I want to expose you. It's just that every once in a while, that ** will come and search through my memories and all of my thoughts. I really want to erase my memories, but unfortunately, he's already given me an absolute order, so I can't do that, Juan Mingwe said in a calm voice. Freak! Heavenly God Misfortune cursed. What else could this be other than a freak? Searching through Juan Mingwe's memories meant that the evil emperor knew all of her thoughts. This meant that she had no privacy at all. It was disgusting to the extreme. So doesn't that mean he knows everything, including your desire to destroy the evil spirit race? Etienne's brows furrowed. That's right. He's always known about my thoughts, as well as my desire to destroy the evil spirit race. However, I've already sworn an absolute slave vow, and I won't be able to escape from him. So what's the point of all of this? Huan Mingyue's eyes were filled with resentment. If she could, she really wanted to slice the evil emperor into pieces. She then turned to Yi Tianyun and the others. So you should hurry up and run. As for your puppet, it's probably going to be crippled as well. You won't be able to sneak in here anymore. They couldn't save her, and her puppet was crippled as well. This was a huge loss. Yi Tianyun was silent for a moment before asking, "Are there any powerful beings from the heaven creation race imprisoned here?" Compared to that, he was more interested in the situation of the heaven creation race. Such a powerful race had already been captured, so if he could save them, it would be a completely different story. There are still some more in prison here, but even I can't enter that area. As for you guys, your cultivation bases are still too low, so you'll probably be captured before you even reach the entrance. Huan Mingyue shook her head. You should say that only the Beatrice Star can enter that area. Everyone else will be killed without exception. As such, it would be much more difficult to sneak in, and it could even be said that it was impossible to enter. Let's give up. Heavenly God Misfortune suggested. They could only give up now. As for killing Huan Mingyue, that was even more impossible. If they killed her, neither of them would be able to escape. Everyone had seen her walk in, so if she died here, how could they escape responsibility? Huan Mingyue's eyes were filled with disappointment. She had thought that there would be hope, but it looked like there was no hope at all. There was only despair in her life. If you escape, this absolute slave contract will still be tied to you. What's the difference between escaping and not escaping? Yi Tianyun spoke in a grave voice. No, as long as I have some time, I'll be able to suppress this contract and slowly erase it. However, I need time, so if I can escape, I will find a place to escape myself. I won't implicate you guys. The prerequisite is that you can escape without him knowing, and I will tell you the corresponding secrets, Huan Mingyue said. What if I can't? Are you not willing to tell us these secrets? Yi Tianyun asked. I will tell you guys, but you have to do something for me, Huan Mingyue said. Yi Tianyun narrowed his eyes at her. After a moment, a smile appeared on his face. All right, I'll take you out. Chapter 16:55. All right then, what is the mission I want you to do? You said you want to take me out. Do you have a way to hide from that beast's senses? Huan Mingyue had thought that Yi Tianyun would accept the mission. She had only come here to ask them to do something for her. As for escaping, she really didn't have any extravagant hopes. You have a way? The heavenly god Misfortune couldn't think of a way no matter how hard she thought about it. She then turned to the evil spirit puppet and pointed at it. Could it be this? This thing can hide from senses? No, that won't work. The absolute slave contract can't hide from senses. I'll be able to sense it immediately if I go out. Yi Tianyun shook his head. Then what is it? Huan Mingyue was confused. You'll know when the time comes. Yi Tianyun smiled. But for now, wait here for a while. We have something to do first. We'll take you away when we come back. What is it? If it's an internal matter of the evil spirit race, even though I'm being controlled, I still have the right to speak. Huan Mingyue seemed to have seen some hope. She didn't want to stay here any longer. She felt like she was sitting on pins and needles. Yi Tianyun thought about it for a moment before smiling. That's a good idea. Taking the princess with us is a good choice. Following that, Yi Tianyun and the heavenly god Misfortune returned to the evil spirit puppet and left with Huan Mingyue. This thing of yours is really amazing. I don't know how you made it. I can't tell it's fake at all. But if we escape, then this thing of yours will be useless. In her eyes, this thing would be exposed when they escaped, so it would be useless. Perhaps I won't even need this thing to take us away. What if we just kill our way out? Yi Tianyun smiled. This? Huan Mingyue shook her head. This is the evil spirit race's headquarters, and there are evil spirit race beings all around. If you reveal even the slightest bit of your aura, they'll be able to sense it immediately. You will know when the time comes. Yi Tianyun did not explain too much and continued to bring Huan Mingyue away. Naturally, the god-binding chains on Huan Mingyue were undone. She regained her freedom of movement. She did not run, nor did she do anything reckless. Everything was just as she had said. She was indeed one of them. Even though she had the bloodline of the evil spirit race, she was more inclined to have the bloodline of the heaven-creating race. Where are we going now? The heavenly misfortune god didn't know where Tianyun was going. She had thought that Tianyun was going to escape with his people, but who would have thought that he would be so calm and collected? Have you forgotten? Heavenly god Gokai, Tianyun said with a smile. There were some things that couldn't be forgotten. The heavenly doom god faltered slightly before nodding. That's right, Gokai. Gokai caught her. If she didn't have some ability, she would have been dead. How could he not take revenge? Meanwhile, on one of the lower levels of the pagoda, a bunch of idiots. I told you to search for so long, but you still couldn't find the heavenly doom god? Gokai was extremely furious at his subordinates. Sorry, master. We've already tried our best to search, but we couldn't find any aura. Trash. All of you are trash. Gokai waved a hand, and all of the heavenly venerates were sent flying with a single slap. All of them vomited blood as they fell to the ground. I told you to search for some aura, but you can't even find the heavenly doom god's aura. All of the heavenly venerates were cursing in their hearts. He was the one who let them go, and they couldn't even find them. So how could they be blamed for this? However, they could only swallow this bitterness and couldn't say it out loud. If they really said it out loud, they would definitely be slapped to death. We will continue to search. They hurriedly got up and continued to kneel before Gokai. Then hurry up and search. Gokai glowered at them. Yes, master. They quickly got up and left as if they had been granted amnesty. How could they dare to stay here any longer? If they stayed any longer, they would most likely be slapped again. After they left, Gokai sat on a chair with an extremely dark expression. If word of this gets out, I'll lose all face. That heavenly doom god is truly uncanny to be able to escape even in such a situation. As expected of the daughter of the Fector region lord, he slapped the chair so hard that it shattered. And that little brat, he's actually a descendant of the evil spirits. He probably won't come after me anymore. He was only worried about these two things. One was the heavenly doom god situation, and the other was Tianyun. Just as he was thinking about this, two figures walked in from outside. There were guards following behind them, and they yelled at the same time, Master, Her Highness and Master Tian are here to see you. What? Before Gokai could react, Tianyun and Huan Mingyue had already walked in. The guards couldn't even stop them, nor did they dare to. In terms of status, Tianyun and Huan Mingyue were both of a higher status than Gokai, so they didn't need to report to anyone before they could come in at will. This applied to all evil spirit tribe cultivators. As long as they had a higher cultivation base and a higher status than you, they could come in at will. Even if you were cultivating in your room or doing something else, no one could stop them if they wanted to come in. This was the evil spirit tribe's way of doing things. Her Highness, Master Tianyun, what business do you two have here? Gokai quickly sprang up from his chair and made his way over to Tianyun and the others in a few steps. He nodded and bowed respectfully without any hint of displeasure. His heart was cold, especially when he saw Tianyun coming over. He knew that Tianyun was coming for him. Not only did he come to settle scores with him, but he even brought Huan Mingyue with him. This meant that things were not as simple as they seemed. All of you can leave now. Huan Mingyue waved his hand and gestured for the guards to leave. Yes, Her Highness. They immediately obeyed Huan Mingyue's order and left, not daring to stay for even a moment longer. After they left, Heavenly God Gokai still had a smile on his face, but he directly said, Lord Evil Spirit C, this lowly subject didn't know that you were a descendant of Lord Evil God. This lowly subject was blind, so I hope that Lord will forgive this lowly subject's mistake. Don't be nervous. I'm not here to question you about your mistakes, Tianyun said calmly. Thank you so much, Her Highness. You are so broad-minded that I can't even hope to catch up. Gokai nodded and bowed. In fact, even he felt disgusted, but he could only do this. Don't thank me just yet. I'm indeed not here to question you about your mistakes. I'm here to take your life. A cold light flashed in Tianyun's eyes. In the next instant, all of them sprang into action. Heavenly God Misfortune charged out and swung the God-binding rope again. Huan Mingyue also unleashed a few palm strikes in succession to seal Gokai's power. Chapter 1656. Gokai had never thought that such a situation would occur. Not only were there humans, but there was also the evil spirit clan, which looked very special. The most important thing was that Huan Mingyue had attacked together. That was the strangest part. The human clan and the evil spirit clan had never interacted with each other. Now, they had joined hands to deal with him. Moreover, what was going on with the evil spirit clan? Why was he just watching from the side? What's going on? Gokai was dumbfounded. When he came back to his senses, it was already too late. With so many seals, even Gokai couldn't easily break them. It would take him a long time to break them. The prerequisite for breaking them was that they didn't reinforce the seals. But was that possible? Thus, Gokai was already caught. He had no chance to escape. You don't need to know what's going on. Tianyun threw him into the evil spirit puppet space. At the same time, they quickly went in. After tidying up, Tianyun nodded at Huan Mingyue and followed them out. When the guards outside saw them come out so quickly, they couldn't help but be puzzled. Don't go in. Gokai is reflecting on his mistakes. Unless he is summoned, no one is allowed to go in and disturb him, Huan Mingyue said. Yes, Your Highness. They all knelt down and promised that they would definitely guard this place and not let anyone in. After warning them, they quickly left this place. After leaving this place for a while, Tianyun let Huan Mingyue enter the evil spirit puppet space. Then he began to fly toward the exit. He couldn't use the teleportation divine stone here. The surroundings were filled with pitch-black energy, so he couldn't easily pass through this place to leave. Thus, he could only find the exit. After leaving, he could use the teleportation divine stone. He was confident that he could escape with Huan Mingyue mainly because of the teleportation divine stone. His speed definitely couldn't surpass the evil emperor. He could easily catch up with them. If he used the teleportation divine stone, it would be different. He could disappear on the spot and go wherever he wanted. Even if the evil emperor sensed Huan Mingyue's location, he would need to spend time to fly over. Moreover, he wasn't escaping to that place. He was escaping to the Three Realms divine domain. With the absolute defense barrier, he could protect Huan Mingyue for 1,000 years. The only problem was whether or not it could isolate the heretic god's divine sense. That was another matter. If the evil spirits were controlling Huan Mingyue from the outside, it wouldn't be a good thing. Even if we enter this space, we will still be sensed. As long as we move a little further away, he will be able to sense us immediately, Huan Mingyue reminded him. It seems that you have been captured many times, right? Tianyun looked at her and said, Yes, I've done it many times. As soon as I leave this area, I'll immediately sense it. The furthest I managed to escape was this area, but I didn't run very far before I was immediately found. Huan Mingyue looked at them and said, So if you want to run, you still have time to change your mind. Once you leave a certain range, you will be detected immediately. Huan Mingyue said, trying to persuade. Evil Tian was, Emperor. Don't worry. What you need to think about now is how to get rid of the absolute slave contract. Tianyun smiled lightly and said, You can rest assured about this. What you need to consider now is how to break this absolute slave contract. There was nothing in the world that couldn't be broken. It all depended on the price one had to pay. Some were very difficult to break. After all, the contract was like a god seal. As long as one knew how to break it, they could break it bit by bit. Enough time, Tianyun squinted. If you want to break it by yourself, it will be difficult. You will have to hide. Enough time, Tianyun squinted. If you want to break it by yourself, it won't be easy. You will have to hide. I think that even if I take you out, your chances of escaping are very slim. No matter how slim, how will you know if you don't try? Huan Mingyue looked at him and said, At least if you try, there is hope, right? Especially if we can get out of his control, we might have some hope. Even so, she knew it would be too difficult. Evil Emperor was so strong. If she stayed in one place for a while, he would find her immediately. This was like a game of cat and mouse. It all depended on whether the mouse could run fast. If I help you and help you stabilize and not worry about Evil Emperor's pursuit, you will join my force. How about that? Tianyun had said so much, but that was what he wanted to say. Join your force? Huan Mingyue stilled. She hadn't expected Tianyun to make such an invitation. Your force? Aren't you afraid of being destroyed? Or can you accept my bloodline? My force isn't so easily destroyed. As for your bloodline, as long as you agree, no one will dare to touch you. Tianyun's tone was powerful. She felt convinced. Since you don't mind, I have nothing else to say. As long as you are willing, I will join your force. A faint smile appeared on Huan Mingyue's face, and it was as if all the snow and ice had melted away. Not only did she have the bloodline of darkness, but she was also being hunted down by the evil emperor. If someone was willing to take her in, how could she refuse? As long as she had the courage to do so, she was willing to join. Heavenly God Misfortune was completely dumbstruck. She felt like Tianyun was far too gutsy. If the evil emperor were to attack them, they would definitely be destroyed. What force would be able to withstand such a powerful evil spirit tribe? In particular, their princess had been taken away, so they would definitely be as mad as they could be. Are you insane? You have to be responsible for your own force. Heavenly God Misfortune transmitted her voice. Don't worry, they won't be able to destroy my force. A confident smile appeared on Tianyun's face. Is your force very powerful? Could it be that it's a 5th-grade god realm, and one of the more powerful ones at that? Heavenly God Misfortune's brows furrowed. Even so, their princess has been captured, and she's the key to opening the barrier. I don't think they'll give up just like that. They'll definitely wage a battle to the death. No, my force is not a 5th-grade god realm. It's a 4th-grade god realm, and it's one of the weaker ones. Tianyun transmitted his voice back with a smile. You still dare to take her in? You're basically harming yourself and your subordinates. Heavenly God Misfortune was a little enraged. She was naturally very displeased with how irresponsible he was, and her impression of Tianyun had been completely refreshed. She had thought that Tianyun was very responsible and knew how to shoulder heavy responsibilities. But who would have thought that he would be a hero? No, I've already made preparations. Have you heard of the 3 Realms God Realm? Tianyun smiled. Taste the 3 Realms God Realm? The one that can't be broken into? Heavenly God Misfortune was dumbstruck. She finally understood why Tianyun was so confident. She had tried to break the barrier before, but it had still ended in failure. In her eyes, without the power of an invincible divine emperor, there was no way to break through the barrier. Who would have thought that Tianyun's force was the 3 Realms God Realm? She was instantly rendered speechless, and she had no intention of dissuading him. Chapter 1657. Heavenly God Misfortune rolled his eyes with a resigned expression. That's indeed true. Your divine domain has been blessed by the heavens ever since you ascended, and it possesses an extremely difficult barrier to break. Our affected divine realm has secretly researched this barrier a long time ago, and it is a power that belongs to the heavenly Tao. In the face of this power, it will be very difficult to break through unless you become a God Arch or are infinitely close to becoming a God Arch. Heavenly God Misfortune gave this barrier a very high evaluation, but how could it not be? Such a terrifying barrier had been specially given to him by the system, and it could protect his force for over 1,000 years. The problem is, how long can this barrier last? Do you know? Heavenly God Misfortune asked. If it's about to disappear, it won't be a good thing. You'll immediately be in trouble. I'm not sure about that, but it's probably more than 100 years. At the very least, there's no sign of it disappearing yet, Tianyun replied. 100 years is too short, but at least there's some time. Heavenly God Misfortune nodded. If that was the case, then Huan Mingyue would undoubtedly be the safest place to hide. However, 100 years was undoubtedly a very short period of time. It wouldn't be a problem for the evil emperor to wait for another 100 years to come and destroy them. After some discussion, they soon arrived at the exit. He really only had 2 choices now. He could either give up, or he could escape with his people. Tianyun didn't even think about it. He would escape with Huan Mingyue. Even though the evil spirit puppet would be destroyed, it was still a good thing to be able to save Huan Mingyue. At the very least, the barrier wouldn't continue to be opened, and more powerful evil spirit tribe beings wouldn't be able to infiltrate this place. Hurry up and tie me up in case I'm controlled. Huan Mingyue signaled for them to tie her up and not move. All right. Heavenly God Misfortune immediately tossed out God-binding chains to tie Huan Mingyue up. However, this was not a heavenly God spirit treasure, but a heavenly venerate level treasure. After tying her up, all types of seals were placed on her, making her extremely secure. They all knew what Huan Mingyue meant. After being ordered to return, she would definitely rush out immediately. As such, they had to seal her up to prevent any problems from arising. Meanwhile, the situation outside. Lord Evil Spirit C. When Yi Tianyun came over, the guard shouted respectfully. News of Yi Tianyun's identity had already spread. Basically, everyone knew who he was, so they wouldn't stop him. Yi Tianyun nodded. Without saying anything else, he flew towards the exit. He could come and go as he pleased. After all, he was the descendant of the evil spirits. According to his status, he was at least at the level of an elder. Naturally, he could come and go as he pleased. When he went out, the guard immediately followed his orders and reported Yi Tianyun's movements. Meanwhile, the evil emperor who was in the tower raised an eyebrow, and he frowned as he said, "That girl wants to slip out again. Looks like if I don't teach her a good lesson, she won't know what it means to be obedient." Immediately after, he released his divine thought and controlled the nether illusion moon to come back. As soon as it was released, Huan Mingyue, who was tied up, immediately wriggled. He wanted to break free, but he was tightly bound by the God-binding rope. He could not break free at all. Boom! At this moment, the most powerful energy erupted from Huan Mingyue's body. His heavenly God-level power was released in an attempt to break free from the God-binding rope. The extremely evil power of the evil spirit tribe continued to be released from her body, and it eroded the God-binding rope. In the blink of an eye, a small portion of the God-binding rope and the seal had been eroded. This speed was astonishing to them. So powerful! They all cried out in surprise. It had to be said that the power of inheriting the Heaven Creator clan's power and the evil emperor's power was rather terrifying when combined. If this continued, it wouldn't be long before the seal would be broken. I have to escape the range of his divine thought as soon as possible. Otherwise, this seal will definitely be broken. Heavenly God Misfortune's expression was grave. She didn't expect Huan Mingyue to be so powerful. Huan Mingyue was completely out of control now. Her eyes had lost focus, and she was frantically trying to break free. The order she received was to hurry back. Since she was trapped, she naturally had to use all her power to break free. Thankfully, Heavenly God Misfortune was quite powerful, and she was able to temporarily suppress Huan Mingyue with the mystic techniques of the Fectus Sacred Realm. If it were any other normal seal, it would have been broken a long time ago. Aha! You're all dead. The evil emperor will catch up very soon. Gokai guffawed. He could already see the evil emperor catching up. The princess had been captured, so the evil emperor would definitely catch up. Shut up! Yi Tianyun slapped him viciously, and Gokai was sent flying with a loud slap. He tumbled a few times and threw up a mouthful of blood. Who knew how many of his teeth had been knocked out? He was in a bad situation after being sealed, and he could be easily injured. Cough, cough, cough. You're all dead. Gokai was still laughing, and his eyes were filled with resentment. Just imagining the scene of Yi Tianyun and the others being tortured to death by the evil emperor gave him boundless pleasure. Yi Tianyun ignored him and passed through the passageway at an even faster speed. It would take some time before he could escape. As long as he could leave this passageway, he could use the teleportation divine stone. He had to be fast. The evil emperor sensed that Huan Mingyue was getting further and further away, and he was very confused. Strange, why is she getting further and further away? Is she being controlled? She's still in the passageway. Who would take her away? Reporting to the evil emperor, Lord C. Wailing has left. A guard came in and reported. C. Wailing left? The evil emperor frowned. Did he take Huan Mingyue away? Damn it, what is this guy thinking? The evil emperor quickly disappeared and rushed toward the passageway, at an extremely fast speed. He arrived at the passageway in almost a short while. This was his territory, and he could arrive at the passageway in the blink of an eye. He had set up a teleportation formation in this area, so he could go anywhere he wanted to go quickly. He could see Etienne from afar, and he quickly ran out of the passageway. "Stop!" The evil emperor angrily roared and chased with terrifying speed. In the blink of an eye, he closed the distance between them. Such terrifying speed far surpassed that of Etienne. The evil spirit puppet's cultivation wasn't very high, so no matter how fast it was much slower than a heavenly god. He caught up so quickly, Etienne turned his head to look. No wonder Juan Minuet couldn't escape so many times. Chapter 1658. It's over. He's going to catch up. The heavenly misfortune god's expression darkened. She knew that the battle was about to end as the evil emperor closed in on her. So what if he could escape from this passageway? Could he escape from the outside? She already knew that she couldn't escape, but since Etienne insisted on trying, she could only accompany him in his madness. In her heart, there was still a bit of hope. From the looks of it now, he couldn't rely on luck. It wouldn't be long before they were done with this. "Huh? You're dead. You're dead." Gokai could also see Evil Emperor catching up to them through the screen. In his opinion, Etienne was definitely going to die. Etienne did not waver. He continued to control the evil spirit puppet to charge forward. There was still a short distance to go before they could get out. As long as he could get out of here, the outside world would be his. "What are you doing? Where do you think you're going with the princess?" Evil Emperor, who was behind him, was furious. There was no need to talk about Etienne, but how could he escape with Juan Minuet? That was the key. Etienne didn't reply. Instead, he stepped out of the exit and rushed out of the narrow tunnel. The moment he rushed out, he held the teleportation godstone tightly in his hand and quickly used it. In less than a breath's time, his figure flashed and completely disappeared on the spot. The moment he disappeared, Evil Emperor pounced at him at the same time, but he missed. He didn't reach Etienne at all. "What's going on?" Evil Emperor was stunned. He turned his head to look around, but found that Etienne was nowhere to be seen. Where did he go? How'd he do it? He couldn't sense anything at all. That was the most unbelievable thing to him. Then he quickly sensed the fantasy nether moon. Maybe he couldn't sense where Etienne was, but he could sense the fantasy nether moon's location. What's going on? He's actually so far away? Evil Emperor could only vaguely sense the general situation, and the more indistinct his senses were, the further away he was. It could be said that this distance was quite far. It could almost be said to be the furthest kind, with so many divine domains separating them. How could it not be far? From Grade 5 God Realm to Grade 4 God Realm. Who knew how many God Realms one had to cross? Damn it, no matter where you run, it's useless. Evil Emperor quickly turned around and began to gather experts to chase after him. Although he could sense it, he still needed his subordinates to help him search for it, especially since the area he was heading to was the territory of another race. If he didn't gather some subordinates, it wouldn't be easy to deal with these small fries. When the Evil Emperor returned to gather his subordinates, Etienne had already led them back to the Three Realms God Realm. When he returned, Fantasy Moon's struggle had disappeared. Since the distance was quite far, the command naturally disappeared. After Juan Minuet stopped releasing energy, he sat on the ground, drenched in sweat. What's going on? The heavenly doom god was dumbstruck. Gokai was also dumbstruck. In an instant, everything changed. They seemed to have arrived at a strange area. After that, Etienne led them out, and the heavenly doom god was astonished by what he saw. This is your force? The Three Realms God Realm? The heavenly doom god immediately thought of the Three Realms God Realm. The Three Realms God Realm cultivators generally had low cultivation bases, mainly because there was a barrier outside. Her cultivation base was not low, so she was able to tell what was going on here. "That's right. This is my force," Etienne replied with a smile. This is unbelievable. We came back just like that? That's a Grade 5 God Realm. Who knows how many God Realms they've crossed, and we just came back like that. The heavenly doom god was dumbstruck. She had never seen such a bizarre thing in her life. If they had used some sort of large-scale teleportation spell formation, then there would be no need to elaborate further. However, she had come back in the blink of an eye without seeing any formation. That was simply too incredible. "Don't worry about that," Etienne said with a smile. "I told you that if I could let you escape, I would let you escape for real. We're basically safe now, so you can take this guy back to the Fecta Divine Realm. Remember to tell your big sister not to forget your promise." Big sister's promise? The heavenly doom god was a little confused, but she didn't ask any questions. She would find out when she got back. Gokai was also dumbstruck. Where was the evil emperor who had been chasing after them with all his might? He had completely disappeared. "Idiot, go back and enjoy yourself. When the time comes, those two sisters will definitely make you happy." Etienne flew over and patted his face. Gokai stared blankly at him, then at the heavenly doom god. He knew that he was screwed. "Then I'll be going back now. As for her, you'll have to keep an eye on her." The heavenly doom god thought about it for a moment before saying, "I'll go back and explain the situation. After that, we'll come back to find you." She thought about it for a moment, but she was still a little worried. After all, Etienne's cultivation base was so much lower than Huan Mingyue's, so if the evil emperor were to catch up to them, it would be quite a big problem. "All right, just come in when you come back," Etienne said with a smile. The heavenly misfortune god nodded before dragging heavenly god Gokai toward the exit. She had to hurry back and report this. Otherwise, it would be terrible if the heavenly doom god suddenly decided to attack the evil spirit tribe. After the heavenly doom god left with Gokai, Huan Mingyue was still in a daze. She looked around at her surroundings blankly, and tears suddenly welled up in her eyes. Did I really escape? Even after Huan Mingyue arrived, he still hadn't recovered from the shock. She really didn't dare to believe that she had escaped from that demonic claw. Even though it was only temporary, at the very least, she wouldn't be controlled, and she wouldn't have to keep looking at that face. "That's right, you've escaped." Etienne made his way over to her with a serious expression. "However, this is only the beginning. I'll take you to a place right away and set up a spell formation. After that, you have to break the real contract. After all, the evil emperor can still sense what's going on here, so you have to hurry." Everything was a race against time, and it was only a matter of time before the evil emperor attacked. The protective barrier outside was fine, but the evil emperor's divine sense would most likely be able to penetrate it. Even though it was quite difficult to penetrate, it was better to be prepared than to be unable to control it when it actually erupted. The tears in Huan Mingyue's eyes quickly evaporated, and she stood up and nodded. "No problem, just give me enough time. I'll need at least around 100 years before I can break this seal." "Are you relying on the power within your body to break this contract?" Etienne asked. "You can sense a special power within my body?" Huan Mingyue was surprised. "That's right. I can sense it a little, but it's incompatible with the power of the evil spirit tribe," Etienne replied. Huan Mingyue was silent for a moment before replying. "That's the power that my mother left in my body, as well as her memories." "I see." Etienne didn't ask any more questions and immediately led her down to the core secret chamber. In his eyes, the evil emperor was going to arrive soon, so he had to make preparations. Chapter 1659. When Etienne brought the heavenly misfortune god to the secret room below, he quickly set up all kinds of concealment formations to block the divine sense. He set up as many layers as he could. Huan Mingyue did not idle around either. She also set up the formations. She had the bloodline of the heaven creator race, and she also had the corresponding memories, so it was even easier for her to set up the formations. After they were done, she finally heaved a sigh of relief. "It's done. If it can still be controlled like this, then there's really nothing we can do." Etienne looked at the dense divine seals around him. At least it was difficult for his spiritual sense to penetrate through. There were too many formations here, and there was already a concealment effect, so it was even more difficult to penetrate. It's about time." Huan Mingyue looked at him and said, "These are the memories I mentioned before. You can look through them at will." I'll show you everything I know and what I've done. Huan Mingyue had a ball of light in her hand that allowed Yi Tianyun to look through its contents at will. Huan Mingyue had said before that she would give him the corresponding information. Yi Tianyun did not stand on ceremony at all. He took it and began to look through the contents of the memories. Soon, he understood that the contents of the memories were all relatively important information. For example, the overall strength of the evil spirit race and some secrets. However, what he was really concerned about was the barrier. The barrier was controlled by Huan Mingyue. Under her control, some evil spirit race beings could just barely pass through. She was not a pure heaven creator, so it was not easy to control it. As for the true heaven creators, they did not have a powerful bloodline, so they could not control it. Furthermore, they would rather die than submit. It was absolutely impossible for them to open the barrier. Thus, they were all locked up in an area. Only the evil emperor could enter that area. Even Huan Mingyue could not enter. It was very strict. Apart from that, the other memories were rather fragmented, but there was still a lot of important information. It was just that some detailed information seemed to be a little lacking. Huan Mingyue was basically locked up as a slave and could not move around at will. At most, she could only walk around inside the headquarters, so there was less detailed information. She could not directly participate in the management of most things, so she did not know the details. Therefore, the detailed information obtained was still rather limited. Focus on breaking the contract here. Leave the rest to me. Yi Tianyun stopped and said to her after a brief inspection. I'll leave everything to you. If I lose control, don't hold back. You have to suppress me. I don't want to go back to that damn place. Please. Huan Mingyue's tone was extremely sincere. She really didn't want to go back. I will. Not only for you, but also for myself. Yi Tianyun nodded his head. After asking her to stay, he turned around and left. It looked like he was protecting her, but it was actually protecting the world. If this world was destroyed, his divine realm of the three realms would also be destroyed. Rather than relying on others to save him, it was better to control everything himself. When he returned to the top floor, he immediately began to make arrangements. He even told Shi Shuiyun about the situation here. They must have found out about these things. After knowing about it, they all had grave expressions. They did not expect such a situation to occur. However, they did not think that Yi Tianyun was too irresponsible. They only knew that what Yi Tianyun did was definitely not wrong. Leave the following matters to me. You don't need to pay attention to any changes outside. When I need you, I will let you know in advance, Yi Tianyun said. All right, if there's anything else, let us know. They nodded their heads heavily, not afraid at all. Yi Tianyun was naturally very at ease with them. However, he now planned to kill the foreign enemies with his own strength. If he did not test the power of the three realms, he would be the ruler of this place for nothing. He did not have to wait for too long. Groups of black figures rushed out from the void. With the evil emperor in the lead, they quickly landed outside the three realms' divine realm. Behind him was a group of evil spirit race experts. There were more than a dozen heavenly gods, not to mention heavenly venerables. He actually hid in this force. What is his relationship with this force? The evil emperor frowned. He could not understand why the two races, which were incompatible like fire and water, would be together. Until now, he did not suspect that the evil spirit puppets were not from his race. Such a realistic aura, no matter how he examined it, there was no flaw at all. There was also the aura of the evil spirits. This made him very puzzled. Why would they join forces with cultivators? He could not understand it no matter how hard he tried. However, he did not think too much about it. He pointed and said coldly, "Kill them and flatten this force. At the same time, capture C, evil spirit, and the Empress. Do not hurt them." Understood, evil emperor. The heavenly gods immediately rushed over. As they approached, they immediately saw a layer of shield in front of them. However, they did not care and crashed into it without hesitation. In their opinion, it was like tofu to them. It would be broken with a single hit. Boom! Accompanied by a violent impact, they, who were attached to the protective shield, were all sent flying back. They were shaken by their own strength to the point that they almost vomited blood, and their eyes were seeing stars. What's going on? After they recovered, they found that the shield in front of them had not been broken at all. Instead, they almost suffered internal injuries from the impact. This is too strange. Could it be the work of some master? After a moment of surprise, one of the evil spirits began to attack fiercely. No matter who did it, their mission now was to break the shield and flatten the force in front of them. It was that simple. Boom, boom, boom. Several heavenly gods attacked fiercely. Some wanted to vent their anger. They were heavenly gods, but they crashed into the wall, looking very wretched. How could they accept this kind of humiliation? Thus, they all attacked fiercely. After a series of attacks, they found that the shield was not damaged at all. On the contrary, some of their attacks were reflected back, so they all dodged. Some were even repelled by the attacks of others and were sent flying, vomiting blood. What? They were all dumbfounded. There were several heavenly gods, but they could not break the shield at all. Strange, it was simply too strange. Although they controlled the information here, they did not know much about some things, especially the higher-ups. These things were left to the lower-ups to deal with, so they did not know much. Chapter 1660. Etionyan had already seen other heavenly venerates destroy his barrier, but he had never seen so many heavenly gods destroy his barrier. Under their ferocious attacks, every one of their attacks seemed to be smashing into the hearts of everyone in the god realm of the three realms. If they really broke through, they would truly be in despair. Even the sight of so many heavenly gods was terrifying. After all, there was basically not a single heavenly god in the god realm of the three realms. The strongest was only a high-level heavenly venerate. This barrier should be able to hold on. Heavenly Misfortune had already returned. After she returned and reported everything, the Fecta domain ruler and the others were ecstatic. They thought that Heavenly Misfortune was dead, but to their surprise, he was still alive and had been saved by Etionyan. Even Gokai had been captured. After reporting, Heavenly Misfortune sorted out some things and immediately rushed over with Heavenly Luck. Heavenly God Luck was a man of her word, and she immediately chose to join the divine realm of the three realms as an elder. Not only Heavenly God Luck, but Heavenly God Misfortune also joined as an elder. Not only did they want to repay Etionyan for saving their lives, but they also wanted to study the situation of the three realms' divine realm. Not only did the two sisters join, but they also brought a large pile of treasures as a thank you gift. It could be said that they had poured in all sorts of resources. They had brought all sorts of treasures from the Fecta domain, which could be said to have improved greatly. They had also established a divine secret battalion in the god realm of the three realms. They specialized in the cultivation of machinery and the like, just like the Fecta domain. Although they could not teach everything, they could still impart some of it. Etionyan was very satisfied with this. If this continued, the god realm of the three realms would definitely become stronger rapidly. However, before it had even become stronger, the evil spirit race had already charged over and was constantly smashing the barrier. This made the two sisters' hearts palpitate. They were worried that the barrier would suddenly break. I think there will be no problem. Right now, the main thing is the situation on Huan Mingyue's side. As long as Huan Mingyue is not affected, everything will be fine. Etionyan narrowed his eyes as he looked at the gods outside and said, "But with such a big formation, would some old farts come out?" "They definitely won't come out. All of those old farts have gone into hiding, and they definitely won't appear unless it's a critical moment." Heavenly Luck shook her head. For example, they might only appear during another battle between the divine emperors. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any commotion even if some forces were destroyed. After all, if we come out, we'll really have to fight against them, and we might even have to face Evil Emperor and the others' counterattack. Thus, they will only appear at the most crucial moment. At the very least, they won't appear when your faction is destroyed. Heavenly God Luck's words were very reasonable, and Etionyan also believed that those old farts wouldn't come out. If those old farts came out, it would really be lively. Soon, All of the heavenly spirit gods were knocked flying by the ferocious attacks. Not only were they unable to damage the barrier in the slightest, but they had also sustained internal injuries. How is this possible? So many heavenly spirit gods are attacking, but there's not even a scratch. The evil emperor's expression was extremely dark. There were at least 7 or 8 heavenly gods attacking the barrier, but there wasn't even a scratch. The evil emperor was in complete disbelief at this terrifying defensive prowess. Even a 9th-grade divine seal master wouldn't be able to carve something this powerful, right? It had withstood so many powerful attacks, but there wasn't even a scratch. The evil emperor then arrived in front of the barrier before unleashing a ferocious punch with 80 to 90% of his power. Boom! A terrifying force blasted against the protective shield, and the force quickly rebounded, sending him flying. The power that had been unleashed quickly surged into his body, but before it could injure him, his body shuddered violently, and he remained completely unscathed. Not only is its defensive prowess extremely high, but it can also reflect more than 50% of the power. This is truly inconceivable. The evil emperor was shocked. He had been here for so long, but he had never seen a barrier of this type. He then turned to his subordinates and said coldly, "Which force is this? Have you received any information about this before?" "Yes, we have." One of the heavenly spirit gods flew over and gave a simple explanation of this force. "So that's how it is. They even ruined our plans." The evil emperor's expression was gloomy. He had never cared about these low-level matters, but he had never thought that he would still run into them. "Lord Evil Emperor, why don't we try using the joint formation?" One of the heavenly spirit gods suggested. "All right, let's give it a try." The evil emperor looked at the barrier and said coldly, "I don't believe that this is really a protection given by the heavens. Even if it's a protection given by the heavens, we will still destroy it." Following that, all the heavenly spirit gods joined forces and formed the evil spirit divine formation. After gathering a terrifying power, they bombarded the barrier in a frenzy. Boom, boom, boom. Following a series of attacks, the entire barrier tremored violently. However, in the next instant, bursts of power quickly bounced back and scattered their formation. Even a powerful being at the pinnacle of the upper heavenly god stage would not be able to withstand such violent power. However, this barrier was able to withstand it, and it wasn't even cracked in the slightest. Again, the evil emperor waved a hand to signal for them to try again. "I'll give it another try as the main force this time." This time, he was the main force, so he was the main force. After being the main force, they became even more cohesive. All of the heavenly spirit god's power quickly surged toward the evil emperor, following which the evil emperor clapped his hands together and launched an attack. Breakthrough! Boom! An extremely thick pillar of black light seemed to be able to engulf this entire divine realm. The space around it was quickly engulfed, and it became even darker, as if anyone who approached it would be engulfed by this boundless darkness. In the end, the pillar of black light crashed into the barrier, and the hearts of the heavenly god Misfortune and the others rose to their throats as they trembled uncontrollably. "It's not going to break, is it?" All of them were feeling extremely fearful. In contrast, Tianyun remained completely calm. This was a barrier given to him by the system, and it was absolute. No one could break through it unless he broke through it himself. There was no way it could be broken. Boom! The terrifying power caused the barrier to cave in slightly before being repelled again. The more powerful the attack, the more ferocious the rebound would be. Chapter 1661. The attacks of the evil emperor were all reflected back. Not all of them, but at least half of them were reflected back. This made them panic. They knew how powerful their attacks were. If they were reflected back, even if they didn't die, they would be crippled. "Steady! Block this attack!" The evil emperor roared. He told the other Empyrean gods to stabilize their formation. Then, with their fastest speed, they launched another joint attack. Boom! The terrifying black light beam shot out, shattering the reflected black light beam. It turned into countless black dots and dissipated. However, the power of their attacks was clearly stronger. They pierced through the reflected attack and continued to attack the barrier. Dong! The black light beam hit the barrier, but the result was the same. It was still rebounded and continued to attack them. The evil emperor's face sank. He gathered his power again, but this time he didn't release a very powerful attack. Instead, he released an attack that just happened to cancel out the incoming power. After the two collided, they vanished into thin air. After a few fierce attacks, with the support of the evil emperor, even a peak Empyrean god couldn't withstand it. However, after a few attacks, the barrier was completely fine. Forget about being destroyed, there wasn't even a crack. The terrifying defensive power made them all dumbfounded. They had heard that it was a barrier given by the heavens. Now, it seemed like it was true. Although they were strong, no matter how strong they couldn't be stronger than the power of the entire world gathered here. Unless they surpassed everything and reached a higher level, which was the level of god emperors. However, they were still Empyrean gods. To the heavens, they were still mortals. Under such circumstances, they couldn't break the barrier no matter what. Of course, if they continued to attack, they might still have a chance to break it. However, they didn't know how long it would take. This defense is too terrifying. It seems like it really is a gift from the heavens, allowing this faction to obtain such a powerful defense to protect its existence. I've never seen this before. It seems like this god realm is very special. Lord Evil Emperor, what should we do now? We can't break in. They looked at the evil emperor and listened to his orders. If the evil emperor wanted them to continue attacking, they could only do so. If this continues, it will cause too much trouble. I can only choose another method. The evil emperor quickly flew to the side of the barrier and released his divine sense into it to control Huan Mingyue and have her quickly return. Perhaps they couldn't enter, but that didn't mean Huan Mingyue couldn't come out. After the vile emperor released his divine sense, it quickly seeped through. However, by the time he passed through the barrier, most of his divine sense had disappeared. It was incredibly difficult for him to pass through. This was a very difficult process, and the evil emperor's expression changed. This barrier can even block divine will for so long. Let's hope it's not too far away. The evil emperor quickly penetrated inside, and the situation of the surrounding planets entered his eyes. However, this was meaningless. These planets were all very ordinary, and there was no key point. He just took a casual look and continued to penetrate forward. Right now, he just wanted the nether illusion moon. The rest had nothing to do with him. However, it didn't take long before he couldn't penetrate any further and could only withdraw. Damn it, I'm completely blocked outside. The evil emperor was so angry that he punched the barrier. He had used up so much mind power, but he couldn't even find anyone. He couldn't even see what they looked like, and he was completely blocked outside. Tianyan was clearly too vigilant. This barrier didn't just have shocking defense, it also had shocking divine sense blocking abilities. Even though the evil emperor could go through, the consumption was shocking. Not only did he enter very little, but the consumption was even more shocking. In just a short while, he had already used up most of his mind power. From this, one could see how powerful this barrier was. Lord Evil Emperor, what should we do now? They looked at each other. An army had been mobilized, but the result was so tragic. There were so many experts, but they couldn't even trample over a faction. Thinking about it, it was really laughable. Start looking for a weakness here. Keep looking until you find it, or trap them here. I don't believe that they won't come out for the rest of their lives. The evil emperor was about to explode from anger. Huan Mingyue was such an important existence, and it had been snatched away just like that. How could he be willing to leave? Even if they all left later, they would leave behind a group of experts to guard here to the death. They would see when the barrier disappeared, or if they saw anyone coming out, they would capture them all. If he didn't do this, he really had no way to vent the anger in his heart. Huan Mingyue had escaped, and Si Shiling, who had the power of evil spirits, hadn't been captured. This made him feel incomparably angry. His original beautiful idea was shattered just like that. Just as he was thinking about how to set up a trap, a terrifying beam of light suddenly blasted out from inside, carrying with it a five-colored light, engulfing everything. Boom! The evil emperor dodged at an extremely fast speed, but there were some Empyreans and Empyreans behind him who didn't dodge. They didn't even have time to react before they were hit by this cannon. They didn't even have time to scream before a group of experts turned into dust in the void. What kind of attack is this? They were all dumbfounded. Their companions were blasted into pieces in the blink of an eye. This ultimate attack was comparable to the strongest power of a lower Empyrean god. Ordinary Empyrean gods would be easily killed if they were hit. Nice! Within the three realms, Eteonyan unleashed a mortal realm cannon, which was an attack from the five elemental core. There was a very long cooldown time, but it was quickly cooled down before he unleashed a ferocious barrage of attacks. However, after unleashing this attack, it would enter a dormant state and would need to replenish its energy before it could unleash another attack. What a pity! There are many powerful beings on the other side, but this isn't the end. You've all come here as guests, so I have to treat you well. Eteonyan's eyes flashed, and he quickly condensed a light elemental core. The seventh grade core began to glow with dazzling light as it accumulated power in a frenzy. After accumulating power for a while, the entire Three Realms planet began to light up as if it had transformed into a dazzling sun. Heavenly God Misfortune and the others were all dumbstruck. They didn't think that this planet would be able to unleash such terrifying power. They were all standing beside Eteonyan, including Shershuyan. Shershuyan had known about this place a long time ago, as Eteonyan had brought her here before. Eteonyan sat on the throne and controlled all of the mechanisms here. Chapter 1662. The sudden attack caused many evil spirit races to be frightened. The power was not very strong, but it was mainly because it was too sudden, causing them to be unable to react in time. Normally, their spiritual senses would cover a large area, so they would immediately know if there was an attack. It was different now. With the protection of the barrier, they didn't even have time to react. As a result, even a middle-level heavenly god was killed by the attack of a lower-level heavenly god. If they were caught off guard, they would still be blasted to death. Normally, this attack wouldn't cause too much damage to them, especially since they didn't even use the awakening crystal. Before they could unleash most of their power, they had already become true cannon fodder. Damn it, this attack is too sudden. I didn't expect there to be such an attack inside. The evil emperor's expression became even more unsightly. In the blink of an eye, a wave of people had died on his side, and they were completely in a passive state. Not only were they unable to attack but they were also unable to attack right now. This was simply a humiliation. Lord Evil Emperor, I wonder how many more attacks there are. Should we retreat? One of the evil spirit heavenly gods suggested. They were unable to sense the direction of the attack. If they stayed here, they would become living targets. Unless they moved a little further away and hid in a corner, they might be able to avoid this attack. Let's find a place to hide first, then we'll make plans. The evil emperor did not plan to leave. If he did not even leave anything behind, it would be too humiliating. Many of the evil spirit race nodded, agreeing with this suggestion. It was better than just standing here foolishly, right? Just as they were about to leave, a terrifying white pillar of light pierced through, covering an even wider area. It could be said that they were all enveloped by it. The dazzling white light instantly turned this place into day, completely illuminating this pitch-black space. Light attribute attack. Their faces were pale. To them, this was their nemesis. If they were attacked, they would definitely suffer heavy losses. However, in an instant, they quickly consumed the awakening crystal and completely unleashed their power. This time, they were more vigilant, so they were still able to react a little. However, it was only a little. They could only passively defend and not counterattack. The power of the awakening instantly erupted, and all sorts of arms and wings erupted. A pitch-black energy enveloped this world, and even collided with the white light that enveloped them, resisting each other. Boom! The white light continued to fiercely cover them, and all the evil spirit race's vision was filled with white light, making them unable to see anything. When the white light gradually disappeared, another half of his companions had disappeared. This time, even though they were prepared, they still lost less than half of them. The Sky Sovereign level evil spirit race were all killed in battle. There were only a small number of lesser heavenly gods left, and their losses were just as disastrous. They also lost quite a few intermediate Empyrean gods, but the upper Empyrean gods were able to handle it. Most importantly, this was an attack from an intermediate celestial god. Even if he was suppressed, he would still be able to withstand quite a bit of it if the other party were to go all out. Especially when attacking so many experts at the same time, the effect would definitely be scattered. Oh, what kind of damned force is this? How could they have this kind of attack? The evil emperor was about to go crazy. They could only take a beating, but they couldn't kill their way in. This feeling was just too stifling. In the past, he had always crushed his way through, and no force could withstand his offensive. Now, they were the ones being beaten up. If they didn't hide quickly, the next attack would definitely come. They didn't know how many more attacks like this could be launched. Although they could withstand it, they didn't dare to continue enduring this kind of attack. Who knew if it would continue to increase in power? At the very least, this attack was a lot more powerful than the first one. Heavenly God Misfortune and the others were all astonished by the effects of this attack. This kind of scattered attack, after being ejected, still had such a shocking effect it really surprised them. What a powerful attack! This is most likely the work of the Divine Spirit Tribe. Only the Divine Spirit Tribe can have such mastery in this area. Heavenly God Misfortune and the others sighed with emotion. Even the Fectus Sacred Realm couldn't compare to the Divine Spirit Tribe in this area. The Fectus Sacred Realm only had some mastery in some new things, but when it came to Divine Seals, the Divine Spirit Tribe was still the most powerful. The Divine Spirit Tribe's mastery in the field of Divine Seals was undeniably powerful. Now, they had finally witnessed the true power of the Divine Spirit Tribe. After being imbued with a powerful Divine Seal, it possessed unparalleled power. That's right, this is the mastery of the Divine Spirit Tribe. This area originally belonged to the Divine Spirit Tribe, but I've become the ruler of the Divine Spirit Tribe. Etionyan smiled and didn't hide anything. It should be said that they had already guessed one thing. Only the Divine Spirit Tribe could obtain the head of the evil spirits. As such, there was no need to hide anything. In any case, they had already guessed it, so there was no point in hiding anything. As expected, even though they had already guessed it, they were still shocked. The Divine Spirit Tribe had set up such a large formation on this planet. From the outside, it really didn't look like there was anything wrong with it. Let's continue to pursue them before they recover. Etionyan's eyes flashed, and the throne in his hand continued to emit light. However, this time, the light it emitted was a dark-type power. After the 5 elemental cores were used up, it was time for the light core. Now that the light core had been used up, it was naturally time for the dark core to explode. Under its frenzied operation, the dark core began to unleash its greatest power. He could have stacked the evil spirit's pearl, but he didn't want to do that. If he stacked the evil spirit's pearl, then it would be exposed. Even though the other party would definitely have their eyes on them, it was better not to expose some things. It was better to hide what should be hidden. Moreover, even if he used the evil spirit's pearl to attack, the power would not be able to instantly kill the evil emperor and the other powerful beings, so he might as well hide it. Outside the barrier, the evil emperor and his subordinates quickly fled into the distance. They wanted to hide far away from this god realm of the 3 realms. Even though it was humiliating, staying there wasn't as simple as being humiliated. They would be completely wiped out. Just as they were about to quickly escape to a nearby planet to hide, a swath of darkness suddenly appeared in the void in front of them and swept toward them, wrapping them inside. Darkness was just that mysterious. It was so mysterious that they were caught off guard. This was the power of the 3rd cannon blast, Void Explosion, a power that was even darker than their swept toward them, annihilating everything it came into contact with. Even the small planets nearby were turned into ashes when they were touched. The intermediate heavenly god who had rushed at the front didn't even have time to scream before he was quickly turned into ashes. At the same time, he was swallowed by the darkness. Chapter 1663. The terrifying explosion in the void had already reached the level of an upper heavenly god. However, it was only an early-stage attack and had not reached the late stage. Unless it was supported by the evil spirit's orb, it might not be able to have a higher level of power. Without the support of the evil spirit's orb, it was already quite amazing to be able to have such terrifying power. Moreover, the area it covered was very wide. Almost all of the evil spirit races were enveloped within. The evil spirit heavenly god that was flying in front was the first to be killed. Some of them reacted and quickly blocked, including the evil emperor. He didn't hesitate to attack the void explosion, wanting to use attack against attack to disperse this power, not only to protect himself, but also to protect his subordinates. After the void explosion ended, only the upper heavenly gods would survive. Even among the upper heavenly gods, 2 of them had already died. 2 of the most expensive upper heavenly god had died. The middle and lower heavenly gods were all dead, and those that were brought with them were all dead. Although the evil emperor didn't bring elites this time, their potential wasn't bad. Otherwise, he wouldn't have brought them with him. Now, other than the upper heavenly god, the rest were all dead. This level of lethality was simply too terrifying. So terrifying that even Tianyun felt extremely shocked. Unfortunately, the cooldown time was very long. Each of them had a cooldown time of several decades, or even 100 years. The main problem was still the energy problem. Only under the corresponding cooldown time would the energy gap be filled up. Thus, even if Tianyun smashed all sorts of cooling divine level stones, it wouldn't be very meaningful. After all, what he needed was energy, not cooldown time. Unless he smashed all sorts of cores in and let these cores absorb and fill up, he would naturally be able to use them immediately. As a result, he could only fire out 3 shots right now. He couldn't fire any more unless he kept smashing the core. However, even if he smashed the core and was able to use it immediately, it wouldn't be of much use to the remaining experts, and its power would be rather limited. The rest were all extremely powerful existences. This kind of attack didn't have much effect on them. Those who could be effective were all dead now. The power is too strong. They've basically all been cleaned up, and the experience has increased explosively. Tianyun was overjoyed. This was the effect he wanted. The experience he had gained was enough for him to level up. However, he didn't want to level up for the time being. When he wanted to level up, he would naturally level up. Since he couldn't use it for the time being, there was no need to play around like this. Moreover, he could lure the other party. He had always liked to keep a low profile so that the other party would think that he was weak and could easily deal with him. He took advantage of this situation to win every battle. Sinister was indeed a little sinister, but against these guys, this little bit of sinister was nothing. How terrifying! No wonder you said you weren't afraid of the evil monarch bringing powerful beings with him. Not only were you unable to break through the defenses, many of your powerful beings died. Heavenly God Misfortune and the others were completely flabbergasted. They were extremely elated by this outcome. It's all right. It's just that this move can't be used frequently. It takes a long time for me to recover. Tianyun felt that it was quite a pity. If he could blast it out continuously, he would really be invincible. No one could stop him from conquering all the way. If I could use it frequently, who would dare to stop you? The heavenly goddess Luck rolled her eyes. Possessing such terrifying strength and yet being unable to break in, the god realm of the 3 realms was invincible in their eyes. The evil monarch was the best example. The arrogant evil monarch had been forced to flee in a sorry state. The evil monarch couldn't even enter the god realm of the 3 realms, let alone die. If news of this battle were to spread, the entire god realm would be shaken. No one would dare to underestimate Tianyun's force. Even the Yuelong god realm didn't want to befriend weaker god realms. If news of this battle were to spread, it would be hard to say who would be relying on whom. In particular, if Tianyun didn't disclose the cooldown time, Everyone would probably think that he would be able to unleash it again after a short period of time. Just as everyone was rejoicing, the evil monarch and the others had already retreated far enough away. However, they still didn't dare to let their guard down. Who knew if an attack would suddenly appear in front of them? All of the subordinates I brought with me have died. The evil monarch's eyes were cold to the extreme, and he was extremely cowardly. He hadn't suffered any serious injuries, but all of his subordinates had died, and they were fleeing in a sorry state. This wasn't his style at all. It was the first time in history that he had been so cowardly. The other heavenly gods were rather dispirited, clearly caused by the 3 attacks. Lord, evil spirits, I really can't take this lying down. I'm willing to stand guard here and wait for them to come out. If they come out, I'll kill them or forcefully control them so that I can learn all of their secrets. One of the heavenly god elders stood up. They had always been high and mighty, and now that they were in such a sorry state, how could they just run away like this? I'm also willing to do the same. I'll stand guard here. I don't believe that this barrier will last forever. That's right. At the same time, check out the situation here and see if there's any way to break it. None of them wanted to leave. They wanted to stay here and defend to the death. All right, the evil monarch said coldly. Then I'll leave this place to you. I'll go take a look by myself. I want to see if they can still use this kind of attack. This kind of attack definitely can't be used frequently. If they can, I'll exhaust them. The evil monarch didn't want to stay here any longer. He wanted to observe the surroundings from a close distance and find some flaws. His cultivation was the strongest, so this kind of attack was useless against him. That was why he could wander around willfully. The rest of the evil spirit, heavenly god, nodded and didn't say anything. A few of them flew to other areas, wanting to surround the 3 realms' divine realm without any blind spots. Even if a fly flew out, they would be able to know. After all, they were really about to explode from anger. If they didn't flatten this force, they would really be unwilling. Especially after this matter spread out, they would lose even more face. The evil spirit race had always been known for being domineering and cruel. If they didn't take revenge, they would be known for being cowardly. Following closely behind, the evil monarch quickly flew back to the front of the 3 realms' divine realm. He circled around along the way, wanting to see where the weaker ones were so that he could break through them. However, not long after he flew, a figure appeared in front of the evil monarch, but it was separated by a barrier. Evil monarch, you coming to my force as a guest has truly brought light to my small force. Chapter 1664. Etianyin suddenly appeared in front of the vile emperor, a grin on his face. He wasn't worried that the vile emperor would attack him at all. After all, there was a thick barrier in front of him. He didn't need to worry about the vile emperor attacking him at all. You are the ruler of this place? The vile emperor looked Etianyin up and down. That's right. I am the ruler of this place. Why have you come to my divine realm, vile emperor? Etianyin smiled. The vile emperor naturally didn't recognize him, and Empyrean god Sky Surge wasn't here either. They naturally didn't know who he was. As for the top 5 on the blacklist, the vile emperor didn't know much either. In the end, he didn't care about such trivial matters. What he needed to do was very simple. He needed to find a way to break through this barrier and become a god emperor. It was as simple as that. He didn't need to worry about anything else. Not only did he not know about the blacklist, but he also didn't know about the existence of such a bizarre divine realm. Did my race hide in your divine realm? I don't know what he's offering you, but if you let me in and capture them, I'll give you 10 times the reward. The vile emperor couldn't enter, so he had to try to lure him in. There were quite a few divine realms that would be willing to pay for such a low-level method. Etianyin wasn't an idiot. Regardless of how much the reward was, the vile emperor would definitely flatten his organization once he entered. If I let the evil spirit race in, my organization will probably be devoured by you, right? Etianyin smiled. How is that possible? I definitely won't harm your people. All you have to do is hand them over. A murderous look flashed through the vile emperor's eyes. Etianyin had killed so many of his people. If he didn't take revenge, he wouldn't have any face left. Is that so? I don't believe you unless you swear an oath. Tianyin pointed at him. Swear. The Vile Emperor's face sank. If he really did swear an oath and broke it, even he would be in trouble. Perhaps he wouldn't die if he broke the oath, but he would be heavily injured. That wouldn't be a good thing. In particular, he had not even managed to do much before he would be devoured by the oath. When that happened, he would not even be able to attack. What? You don't want to? Tianyin squinted at him and said, I am the dignified, evil emperor. How could I casually make an oath? The evil emperor said coldly. Then you can make your other subordinates swear an oath. There won't be any difference, right? Tianyin smiled and said, just let them bring the resources in, then I'll let you catch them. How about that? Tianyin offered a compromise. If the evil emperor was unwilling to swear an oath, then he would have his subordinates do it. There was no problem with that. The evil emperor's expression was unsightly. He definitely wasn't willing to swear an oath. If he made the vow, he wouldn't be able to deal with Tianyin. That was why he was so unwilling to make the vow. Now that Tianyin had proposed such a method, he didn't know what to do. After thinking for a while, he finally nodded his head and said, All right, but the people hiding inside you are not weak. I need to send at least 2 of them in. How about it? Of course not a problem, but the reward has to be doubled, that is 20 times. Tianyin extended 2 fingers and said with a smile, You're the one who said this, so you have to double the reward. Greedy human. The evil emperor cursed in his heart, feeling that Tianyin was too greedy. His expression did not reveal any disgust, and still maintained an indifferent expression. Then tell me, what are their conditions? I'll give you 20 times the reward. The reward they gave was very simple. A 7th grade core, a heavenly god spirit treasure, and a pile of materials. I don't ask for much, just give me 20 times the reward for the first 2. Tianyin said with a smile. What? The evil emperor's eyes widened. A 7th grade core and a heavenly god spirit treasure. Both of them were relatively expensive items. If he were to increase it by 20 times, that would be 27th grade cores and 20 heavenly god spirit treasures. This was simply a huge pit. What could it be that Lord Evil Emperor can't take it out? Tianyin laughed and said, Of course, no matter what the 7th grade core's attribute is, as long as it's a 7th grade core, it's fine. The evil emperor immediately wanted to kill him. He had asked for too much from the start, but it was not wrong. If Huan Mingyu offered this kind of price, it would not be a problem. It was just that the multiple he offered was too high, and the conversion was too terrifying. There are too many, I can't take them out in a short time. Especially a 7th grade core. Do you think it's cabbage that you could take out so easily? The evil emperor said in a deep voice. It's fine, I can wait. We'll talk about it when you take it out. Tianyin waved his hand, and a table appeared in front of him. He sat down and started drinking. He had plenty of time, so he was not in a hurry. The evil emperor's expression became more and more unsightly. It was obvious that he would not be able to enter without bringing the treasures. How about this? I'll give you half the reward. As for the 7th grade core, I really don't have much. I can only take out 5, but I have a dozen or so heavenly god spirit treasures. I'll use this to make up for it. After I capture the person, I'll give the rest. How about it? The evil emperor's eyes flashed, and he could only grit his teeth and give it out. After drinking a cup of wine, Tianyin smiled and said, No problem, I won't drag things out. I'll give you this reward first. You can call someone over to make the oath. I'll wait here. All right. The evil emperor nodded and immediately contacted the heavenly god elders. In the blink of an eye, several of them came over. After explaining the situation, the elders immediately knew what was going on. These are the 2 I want to send in. The evil emperor immediately chose 2 upper heavenly gods. Their cultivation is too high. Can you send a bit lower? With such high cultivation, I'm a bit afraid. Tianyin grinned. The evil emperor suppressed his anger and gritted his teeth. Fine and lower. I'll send these 2. He then sent out 2 mid-heavenly gods. At the same time, he said, You can't get any lower, or you won't be able to capture the person. Huan Mingyue's cultivation wasn't low, so if they wanted to capture him, they had to be high. Fine, then make the oath. Tianyin waved his hand, and indicated for them to make the oath. The evil emperor nodded and indicated for them to make the oath. The two elders nodded and also made the oath. I, Samad I, Suafe, swear that I will not harm any life in the three realms God realm. I only want to capture Sea Wailing and Huan Mingyue. I won't touch anything else. If I break this oath, I will suffer divine punishment. Boom! The sky immediately flashed with lightning. They were also bound by this oath. There were no exceptions. Chapter 1665. The oath has been made. I've already placed the reward in this storage space. As for the rank 7 core, it's too big. It's not easy to place it, so I've placed it in another independent storage space. The cores were too big and took up a lot of storage space. They couldn't be too small, so they had to expand it to be able to hold them. This kind of storage space was extremely rare. Not everyone could have one. The best way to hold the core was to put it in the inner world. But the evil emperor didn't go in, so he put it in the storage space. As for bringing it in for the two elders, that wasn't suitable either. There were too many. Even heavenly gods couldn't easily hold the cores. It would easily cause chaos. At most, one person could only hold one. They really couldn't carry more. No problem. You can come in now. Tianyun waved his hand, indicating that they could come in. The two elders nodded their heads at each other and slowly walked into the room. When they touched the barrier slowly opened, allowing the two evil spirit elders to enter. At that moment, the evil emperor's eyes turned cold. He quickly turned into a black light and charged in. Boom! The two elders were ruthlessly sent flying in. As for him, he was sent flying out. His entire body was knocked senseless. Lord Evil Emperor, don't be so anxious. They just walked a little slower. Why are you in such a rush? Tianyun looked at the two heavenly gods who were sent flying. Their injuries weren't heavy, but they were still a little injured. The evil emperor wanted to charge in when they opened the entrance. It was as if he had passed through them. However, the situation wasn't that simple. The barrier sent the evil emperor flying. Not only did he not come in, but he also knocked himself out. Seeing the evil emperor in such a sorry state, Tianyun smiled. He knew that the evil emperor didn't have good intentions. How could he not guess what the evil emperor was thinking? Don't forget that this was the heavens barrier. How could they just barge in? There shouldn't be so many loopholes. After the evil emperor was sent flying, he felt a little better. His face was ashen. He didn't think that the barrier didn't have such a loophole. Looking at the mocking expression on Tianyun's face, his heart was about to explode from anger. Clearly, he knew that his plan would fail. It's fine. I just want to test how sturdy this shield is. The vile emperor pretended to be testing it to regain some face. At the same time, he sent a sound transmission to the two elders. Hurry up and find Huan Mingyue. And that brat, capture him as well. Hurry up at all costs. The vile emperor roared. His powerful divine will pierce through the shield, and was able to reach the elders who were closer to him. The two elders swore that they could only obediently go down and grab Huan Mingyue. The other cultivators could not be touched at all. Wait a minute. Where's my reward? Tianyun waved his hand, gesturing for them to take out their reward. The two evil spirit elders had no choice but to obediently hand over the items. They could only give the rewards that they deserved. The vile emperor watched from the side and cursed in his heart. I don't believe that this shield won't disappear. What a greedy human. But this kind of human is easy to deal with. I'll make you spit it out sooner or later. The vile emperor felt very sullen, but he could still accept this price in exchange for Huan Mingyue. After all, Huan Mingyue was a part of his plan. If Huan Mingyue didn't come back, then the plan would be put on hold. This was not something he wanted to see. After receiving the reward, Tianyun grinned at them and said, Since you've received the reward, then go to hell. In the next second, Tianyun didn't hesitate to explode with his strongest power. He activated crazy mode, and affected divine fan appeared in his hand. No matter what, this affected divine fan was equivalent to an upper-level heavenly venerable. Under the ferocious fan, sharp wind blades shot out, tearing through the void. Because it was too sudden, one of the evil spirit heavenly gods didn't even have time to react, and was cut into two by this attack. At the same time, Tianyun waved his hand again and cut the evil spirit heavenly god into several pieces, completely killing a middle-level heavenly god. Ding! Successfully killed evil spirit heavenly god, late-stage middle-level heavenly god. Obtained experience. The familiar voice sounded again, but not as frequently as before. Before, it could be said to be quite frequent, even described as crazy. After all, with a fierce shot, most of the evil spirit heavenly gods would be turned into ashes, and the lowest level would be at the heavenly venerable level. That experience could be said to be explosive, which made him feel very satisfied. Now, it was much worse, so he could only kill them one by one. You violated the oath. One of the evil spirit heavenly gods was furious. He didn't expect Tianyun to sneak attack. Violated the oath? Did I make any oath? Tianyun smiled. He didn't make an oath from the beginning. They also didn't think of making Tianyun make an oath. The reason was very simple. Tianyun's cultivation was too low. He was at the late-stage middle-level, heavenly venerable level. However, the truth was so cruel. The incomparably powerful heavenly god was killed just like that, as if he was cutting melons and vegetables. Kill him, the evil emperor roared from outside. Although you didn't make an oath, since the other party attacked, you can also attack. Although the evil spirit heavenly god didn't make an oath and said that if the other party attacked, they could also counterattack. However, even if they didn't make this oath, they could still counterattack. The oath wasn't absolute, and it wasn't that rigid. It was impossible for them to say that they would never attack. If the other party suddenly launched a sneak attack, it would be equivalent to tearing up the oath. Roar! The remaining evil spirit heavenly god roared angrily and swallowed the awakening crystal without hesitation, exploding with his strongest power. He wanted to use his strongest power to completely crush Tianyun. In the blink of an eye, 12 arms burst forth, along with 4 wings. It was extremely eye-catching. This was the awakening power of a heavenly god, but Tianyun was tired of looking at it. Of course, this power was still very pressurizing for him. With such a huge gap in cultivation, it was naturally not easy to deal with him. However, he did not level up immediately. Instead, he turned to another method to improve himself. Power of faith explode. Tianyun grinned. He looked at the evil spirit elder, who was dashing towards him, as though he was looking at a little bird. Ding! 50 faith points deducted. Damage increased by 50 times. Duration: 1 minute. This power of faith can increase the effect of a battle by 5 to 100 times. Consuming 50 points can increase one's combat power by 50 times. This meant that under the crazy damage mode, it would be 128 times, stacked with 50 times, which would be 178 times the damage. Chapter 1666. Under the superposition of various powers, his battle prowess increased crazily, reaching more than 190 times his original battle prowess. But this was not the end. There was still the bonus of the weapon, in addition to the bonus of the godly skill. Under these bonuses, the total explosive power reached more than 200 times the original height. Actually, he could still explode with even stronger power. For example, the power of faith could increase his battle prowess by another 50 times. But he did not do so, suppressing the opponent in front of him. He did not even need to explode with all his strength. He only needed to explode with 50 times his battle prowess, and that would be enough to suppress the opponent. Boom! After exploding, a terrifying aura soared into the sky. Even if the opponent had the power of a heavenly god, as the domain lord here, he still had the power to suppress them. After all, with the superposition of many titles, even a middle-level heavenly god would have to kneel in front of him. Such strong power. The evil spirit elder who was rushing forward was shocked. He could clearly feel that Tianyun gave him a strong sense of danger, which meant that his explosive power could not compare to the opponent. But now, he could only choose to fight with his life, or else he would have come in for nothing. Dark Devour. The evil spirit elder roared, opened his hand. An endless power of darkness surged up, surrounding Tianyun. But the devouring power of darkness was still unable to wrap around Yi Tianyun's dazzling white light. A sharp white light cut through the void, piercing through the endless darkness, and finally pierced through the evil spirit elder, turning him into a pile of ashes. He was completely burned into ashes by the dazzling white light, reaching the level of instant kill. This was the power of faith. Purification. The terrifying purification could purify all objects, and thus easily purify the evil spirit elder's power of darkness. After killing him, Yi Tianyun quickly stopped the power of faith. The time was less than a minute. The battle was a race against time. In a situation where the power was suppressed, victory and defeat could be determined in a few short seconds. If he did not stop using it, it would continue to consume faith value. Faith value was not that easy to obtain. It was rather precious. Really too strong. Yi Tianyun couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. In this place, he was truly a god. With his superimposed strength, he had almost reached the level of killing Buddhas and gods. However, he didn't dare to be careless. He didn't dare to casually let others in. If he didn't save them in time, they would be in trouble. Their cultivation bases were too low, and they didn't even have the ability to block a single move. After the battle, Yi Tianyun was very satisfied. Not only did he get a lot of rewards, he also got to plunder so many treasures. How could he not be satisfied? Most importantly, he was able to harvest experience points from 2 intermediate heavenly gods, which made him even more satisfied. All of the intermediate heavenly gods had been killed, but who would have thought that there would be reinforcements? This was out of his expectations. It seemed like they were reinforcements from behind, hiding in the surroundings to keep an eye on this side. The upper heavenly gods still had things to do, so it was enough to leave these things to some middle heavenly gods. You damned human! You don't keep your word! The evil emperor roared from outside the barrier, and even extended his hand to punch the barrier, causing a dong-dong sound to ring out. However, the barrier could not be broken, so he could only roar from outside. He never thought that Yi Tianyun would have such terrifying strength. Even 2 great heavenly gods were killed in an instant. No wonder a god was allowed to enter. If it was an upper heavenly god, it would be more difficult to deal with him. It would be easier to deal with a middle heavenly god. Facing an upper heavenly god, Yi Tianyun would indeed find it difficult to deal with him. The difference between an upper heavenly god and a middle heavenly god was too great. Even if he erupted with the power of faith, it would still be extremely difficult to deal with them. In order to be on the safe side, it was naturally fine to let a middle heavenly god in. Trustworthy? I wonder who was the one who wanted to rush in and talk to me about trustworthiness? Yi Tianyun laughed coldly. If I had really let you rush in, I reckon that I would have died miserably in your hands long ago, and my power would have been completely flattened by you. It's not your turn to say that I'm not trustworthy. Yi Tianyun's retort made the evil emperor unable to refute him. Of course, even if the evil emperor didn't do this, he would have killed the 2 heavenly gods. This was the plan from the very beginning. To deal with the evil spirit race, you still need to keep your word? Whoever kept their word would be an idiot. The evil spirit race was the race that didn't keep their word the most. If they still talked about trustworthiness with them, then they would truly be an idiot. You humans are not only greedy, but also untrustworthy. The evil emperor spat out angrily. Don't even think about coming out in this lifetime. As long as you or your subordinates come out, kill them all and leave none alive. Greed? That's also because I'm greedy, idiot. Yi Tianyun mocked. Towards you, the main culprits of the divine emperor. Why should I be polite? It's even more idiotic for me to keep my promise to you. What happened to those who joined your forces back then? You must have made a lot of promises back then, right? In the end, it was all for naught. You even lost your entire force and became cannon fodder. Survival of the fittest. They did things for this emperor, but if they didn't do a good job, this would be their fate. This emperor did not recruit them to raise trash. The evil emperor coldly retorted, "All right, I can't be bothered to talk too much with you. Your mouth is too smelly. Didn't your mother tell you before?" Yi Tianyun pinched his nose and waved his hand with a look of disdain. Seeing this, The evil emperor was about to explode from anger. He stared at him with eyes filled with killing intent and said, "What a glib tongue. But it's meaningless. From today onwards, your forces will definitely be listed as one of the forces that I will trample. From today onwards, don't even think about coming out." "Didn't I come out now?" Tianyun stepped out of the barrier, then retracted his foot and looked at him with a mocking expression. The evil emperor's face was ashen. He had never been played like this before. After so many years, who didn't treat him with respect. Now, they were playing with him in all sorts of ways, making him so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. Good. I'll let you be arrogant. Let's see how long you can be arrogant for." The evil emperor gritted his teeth and couldn't be bothered to look at Tianyun anymore. He quickly flew towards the other areas. He wanted to circle around this place and see if there were any flaws so that he could break in. Seeing the evil emperor's departing figure, Tianyun's eyes flashed, but the corners of his mouth hooked up into a cold smile. What a joke. I can't wait for more people to be by my side. Unless they are all upper heavenly gods, they are all here to give away experience. Even if they are upper heavenly gods, ordinary upper heavenly gods are probably not enough to fill my teeth. Tianyun was not afraid of the evil emperor's threat at all. It was not easy for others to go out, but he could move as he pleased, especially when he had joined forces with the affected divine realm. When the time came, he would ruthlessly harvest the evil spirit race's vitality. Chapter 1667. Tianyun couldn't be bothered to pay attention to what the evil emperor was doing. He flew back and began to sort through his spoils of war. "These are all my spoils of war. I got them from evil emperor," evil emperor said. Tianyun brought out a pile of storage rings, within which were all types of heavenly god spirit treasures, as well as all types of cores. The heavenly god Luck and the others were all speechless at his extravagance. This was definitely the first time they had seen someone plunder the evil emperor, and not only had the evil emperor lost many powerful beings, but he had also lost many treasures. "You're way too powerful. Are you really an intermediate heavenly venerate?" The heavenly doom god had never seen Tianyun's power before, nor had the heavenly luck god. Both of them were completely dumbstruck when they saw it for themselves. Even they would be unable to withstand such a terrifying power. As such, when Tianyun had first returned, they had all stared at Tianyun repeatedly, trying to glean something from him. However, they were unable to glean anything. He was still an intermediate heavenly venerate without any changes. He didn't have a heavenly god's aura, nor did he have a heavenly god cultivation base, but he was able to kill an intermediate heavenly god. This was truly incredible. None of them had seen Tianyun's power before, and only after witnessing it did they realize that Tianyun wasn't bluffing. They could just leave this force to him to protect. "I really am an intermediate heavenly venerate. Can any of you sense it?" Tianyun splayed his hands open with a smile. "I can sense it, but I really don't believe it. I'm even wondering if you're hiding your cultivation base." The heavenly luck god looked at him from head to toe, and she wanted nothing more than to grab him and inspect his cultivation base. "I really have it. This is just my cultivation base." Tianyun shrugged in a resigned manner before a smile appeared on his face. "I have so many resources here. Do you have any good ideas for me to expand my force?" He definitely wasn't going to let the entire 3 realms absorb so many 7th grade cores. That would be far too wasteful. If he wanted to strengthen his own forces, he would definitely have to place them in the various planets. That way, he would be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort. "We're very good at this, so let us help you." Heavenly God Doom and the others' eyes lit up. They finally had something to do. So many rank 7th grade cores. What a huge investment. After they were built, the God realm of the 3 realms would definitely improve by a large margin. Aside from this core, there were also a bunch of heavenly god spirit treasures, which Tianyun generously took out for heavenly god luck to pick from. Since they were here to help him, he would definitely not treat them badly. However, none of them wanted it. Although these heavenly god spirit treasures were not bad, they did not need them. They all had their own heavenly god spirit treasures, so they did not need other heavenly god spirit treasures. Moreover, the heavenly god spiritual treasures that the heretical emperor had given him were relatively ordinary. How could he possibly give him something good? Even the rank 7 core was given to a smaller one. It could be said that he was extremely stingy. It would be impossible for the heretical emperor to not have any treasures on him. Who knew how many grade 7 cores he had? In fact, he might even have grade 8 cores. As for the grade 9 cores, that was hard to say. Of course, no matter how small they were still grade 7 cores. Their overall level was not low. Since none of you want them, I'll save them for fusing with my own treasures in the future. Etienne's gaze turned to the Fecta divine fan. If he smashed these heavenly god spirit treasures, it would recover quite a bit of its power. Following that, he did not hesitate and smashed the Fecta divine fan ferociously, throwing a lot of materials at it. This thing was quite good, so it was worth smashing it. After smashing several heavenly god spirit treasures, the Fecta divine fan quickly recovered. The frame on the surface and the surface of the fan were quickly restored. In the blink of an eye, most of it was restored. These were all heavenly god spirit treasures, and they were of such high grade. No matter how weak they were still heavenly god spirit treasures. After a round of smashing, it could still recover 50% of its power. Soon, it rushed to the limit of a lower heavenly god spirit treasure. If he continued smashing it, it would recover most of its power. It could even recover to its peak upper heavenly god spirit treasure. It was just that the price to pay was extremely high. It would require many middle heavenly god spirit treasures or upper heavenly god spirit treasures to repair it. Just by relying on lower heavenly god spirit treasures, it would be very difficult to restore it to its original state. It has become a lower heavenly god spirit treasure. Etienne looked at the Fecta divine fan. Its power had greatly increased, but the problem was that he could not really use it. If he wanted to unleash the strongest effect, he naturally needed heavenly god energy. Right now, he was still a heavenly venerate energy, so he could only use half of it. Looks like it's about time. It's time to improve myself. Etienne thought for a moment. It was better for him to break through to upper heavenly venerate. Otherwise, he would not be able to refine upper heavenly venerate spirit treasures. Only with 3 heavenly venerate spirit treasures of his own would he be able to unleash greater power. He could not stay here forever. If he stayed outside, he would not be able to use the power of faith. Hence, he needed to improve himself. While he still had time, he needed to improve himself and refine upper heavenly venerate spirit treasures at the same time. After the heretical emperor left, it would be time for him to start a massacre. Level up! Ding! Congratulations to player Etienne for successfully breaking through to upper heavenly venerate early stage. After deducting a large chunk of experience, Etienne broke through to upper heavenly venerate cultivation. Actually, he could still continue breaking through, but he did not do so. Suppressing his cultivation was always a good thing. I've finally broken through to upper heavenly venerate. Then let's start refining upper heavenly venerate spirit treasures. Etienne immediately started throwing in piles of materials and began to nurture upper heavenly venerate spirit treasures. It was not just materials. He even threw in some heavenly venerate spirit treasures. They could also be used as refining materials. In any case, if he threw them in, they could slowly dissolve and then become a part of the materials. It was just that this would be very wasteful. Some things could not be put to good use. But Etienne was just that rich and overbearing. He casually threw most of the treasures. As long as he could improve, he would not be stingy at all. After a round of smashing, Etienne sat down on the spot and began to cultivate. The heretical emperor was still circling around outside. After circling around several times, he found that there were no flaws at all. Forget looking for flaws, there was not even a core of the array. Is this the blessing of the heavens? Just how did they get it? The heretical emperor's face twitched. Looks like I can only slow down the plan. Damn it. Why did such a problem appear at this critical juncture? The heretical emperor angrily punched the barrier, but it bounced back and hit him. Chapter 1668. While the heretical emperor was arranging various plans outside, Etienne was nurturing the upper-level, heavenly venerable spirit treasure, constantly refining it. He had to refine a peak upper-level, heavenly venerable spirit treasure. After all, he still needed a very long time to break through to the heavenly God stage. Although he could level up now and reach a higher level, breaking through from late-stage upper-level heavenly venerable to the heavenly God stage still required a considerable amount of experience. Of course, if he killed dozens of heavenly gods or even hundreds of heavenly gods, then this would become very simple. After nurturing for a period of time, finally, the upper-level heavenly venerable spirit treasure in his body gradually took shape. Gradually, it condensed into a pair of shoes. The third heavenly venerable spirit treasure that Etienne condensed was not some weapon, nor was it some armor, but a pair of shoes. In the eyes of others, this was truly an inconceivable thing. He actually went to refine a pair of shoes instead of refining anything. "Rise for me," Etienne shouted, and this pair of shoes flew out of his inner world, landing firmly in his palm. What came into view was a pair of extremely detailed shoes, carved with dragon patterns, and also like several giant dragons twining around them. Normally, one look and one would know that this pair of shoes was extremely domineering. It was just that to most cultivators, this was too much of a loss. They would rather refine a weapon than a pair of shoes. The true method of output was often weapons. What kind of power could shoes provide? 5 dragon divine travel boots. Etienne was not anyone else. He naturally had his own ideas for the things he refined. After refining it, he immediately gave it a resounding name. Without a doubt, this was a complete set of equipment. Weapons, wrist guards, and boots could all become a set of equipment, all equipment with 5 dragons carved on them. If they were combined, it would definitely have an extremely strong effect. Not bad. Etienne looked carefully for a while and felt rather satisfied. This was definitely his current highest standard. Compared to a lower-level heavenly god spirit treasure, it was not inferior at all. Immediately, he put it on. After familiarizing himself with it, he felt very satisfied. Refined bit by himself, it was naturally very suitable for him to use. The other heavenly venerable spirit treasures and heavenly god spirit treasures were ultimately a little less compatible. It's about time. I wonder if Evil Emperor and the others have left this place. Etienne's eyes flashed. He was waiting for the heretical emperor to leave so that he could go out and start a massacre. With so many fat sheep waiting outside, if he didn't treat them well, he would be letting them down. Soon after, he quickly came to the side of the shield and used his spiritual sense to explore the situation outside. It was difficult for others to probe in, but he could easily probe the situation outside. Under his incomparably valiant spiritual sense, there was no place to hide from his surroundings. This was especially so when he activated the appraisal eye, which allowed him to see even more clearly. He could clearly see who was hiding at the side. As expected, they sent quite a few heavenly gods to hide at the side. Their concealment skills are quite impressive. Etienne moved to another area and scouted out to roughly determine their location. Soon, he found all of the heavenly gods who were hiding in the vicinity. Overall, there were a total of 8 heavenly gods, 2 of which were higher heavenly gods. This was quite a large number. Originally, they didn't plan to send higher heavenly gods, but after seeing how easily Etienne killed intermediate heavenly gods, they could only send 2 higher heavenly gods. The rest of the intermediate heavenly gods were just there for scouting purposes and to intercept some reinforcements. They knew that the 3 realms divine realm had reinforcements from other forces. Although they wouldn't attack, they would definitely retaliate if reinforcements came. As for reinforcements, when he came out of seclusion, Heavenly Goddess Luck came over to ask if he needed help from the Fecta divine realm. Etienne turned her down and said that he would take care of this himself. If there were any difficulties, he would ask for their help. Since Etienne had already decided, they could only listen to Etienne. Then let's start with the weakest. Etienne's eyes turned cold, and he quickly disappeared on the spot. Outside, heavenly god, evil spirit had been cultivating while paying attention to what was happening. Apart from that, they couldn't move at will, so they could only stay here obediently. It was extremely boring. I really don't know when this barrier will disappear. Cultivators inside, hurry up and come out for a stroll. It's so boring. This intermediate heavenly god was extremely bored. He had stayed here for so long, but not even a fly had flown out. It was extremely boring. At this moment, a shadow flashed behind him, but he was completely unaware. Splat! The 5-dragon divine spear pierced through his head, and heavenly god, evil spirit's body stiffened. By the time he came to his senses, it was already too late. Bam! Heavenly god, evil spirit's head exploded into a cloud of blood mist just like that. The first one, the person who had appeared behind heavenly god, evil spirit, was naturally Etianyan. The 5-dragon divine movement boots on his feet shimmered with a faint golden light, completely concealing him within space. Combined with his spatial bloodline, it was like a divine weapon for sneak attacks. He didn't need to face them head-on. All he needed to do was launch sneak attacks to easily take care of them. He then stepped forward, and a faint golden light flashed as he disappeared into space again, completely disappearing without a trace. He truly came and went without a trace. In the next instant, Etianyan appeared behind another heavenly god, evil spirit, and launched another sneak attack. All of the heavenly gods seemed to have been possessed, and they didn't even have a chance to react before their heads were pierced through and they were instantly killed. When he killed the 4th heavenly god, evil spirit, he suddenly felt a chill run down his spine, and he immediately turned around to discover that there was no one there. That's strange. Why do I feel like there's something behind me? Heavenly god, evil spirit scratched his head as he quickly used his spirit sense to investigate, but he was unable to find anything. What are you looking at? A ghostly voice sounded from behind him. Heavenly god, evil spirit immediately turned around, only to be greeted by a divine spear that pierced through his head. Fifth one die. Etianyan put away the divine spear as his eyes shimmered. He didn't think that the 5-dragon divine movement boots would be so effective. Combined with the power of the void, it was very difficult for them to detect him. Heavenly god, evil spirit was able to detect him, but only a tiny bit. Most of them were still unable to detect him, and Etianyan's sneak attack was easily successful. Even he was astonished by the power of such a terrifying sneak attack. However, this was a perfect sneak attack that could only be unleashed with all of his equipment and abilities. It wasn't something that could be brought about by a single pair of shoes. Just a pair of shoes was able to combine all of his abilities and completely amplify them. This was the Fleetfoot step. Chapter 1669. After killing 5 heavenly gods in a row, there were only 3 heavenly gods left. However, 2 of them were upper heavenly gods, and it would undoubtedly be very difficult to deal with them. But before that, Etianyan first finished off the last intermediate heavenly god, and the 2 upper heavenly gods were left. These 2 upper heavenly gods had no idea that their subordinates had already been completely wiped out, and not a single one was left. If I don't destroy this organization, I won't be able to take this lying down. But when will this barrier disappear? Duan Rue shook his head. After staying here for a period of time, he began to feel bored. He had never done this kind of thing before. He would just rush over and devour them, instead of squatting here and watching obediently. Not only was this boring, but it was also not his usual style. He had always been straightforward and never hid to watch. He felt a little aggrieved. But this was not only an order from the evil emperor, but also their own thoughts. After all, Etianyan had killed so many of their companions and humiliated them so much. They were really unwilling to leave just like that. Previously, when they were beaten into such a sorry state, they had already sworn to destroy the god realm of the 3 realms. Thus, they could only fulfill their promise obediently. Duan Rue shook his head and continued to watch from the side. His powerful spiritual awareness covered the entire area, and even a fly could not escape his perception. As he continued to watch the situation, a murderous intent came from behind his head. A strong sense of danger made him quickly turn around and reach out to block it. The incomparably sharp spear light directly pierced through his palm, but this bought him a lot of time to dodge. At the same time, the spear light slowed down by a beat, allowing him to quickly retreat and avoid this fatal blow. "It's you!" After retreating quickly, Duan Rue immediately saw who the sneak attack was. Previously, the evil emperor had allowed him to enter the god realm of the three realms, but Tianyan said that people with such high cultivation were not allowed to enter, so he could only replace him with other members of the evil spirit tribe. Thus, they had all seen Tianyan and had a very deep impression of him. However, after further investigation, he realized that Tianyan was on the blacklist. He immediately felt that his actions were stupid. They did not expect Tianyan to be on the blacklist. What they usually did not bother to ask had led to a huge mistake. If they had known about it earlier, the significance would have been different. They would have definitely paid more attention to it. Now that he knew, it was useless. "That's right, it's me." As expected of an upper heavenly god, his perception is much stronger than that of a middle heavenly god. Tianyan narrowed his eyes. This was not out of his expectations. If upper heavenly gods could be dealt with so easily, they wouldn't be upper heavenly gods. Regardless of whether it was his perception or strength, they were both much stronger than before. "Brat, what else can you do besides sneak attacks?" When God Duan Rue was talking to Tianyan, he also contacted another companion. Since Tianyan had come out, he definitely couldn't let him go. "Idiots! What else do you have other than a high cultivation base?" Tianyan retorted with a smile. "You're courting death." God Duan Rue was furious and immediately attacked Tianyan. The power of an upper heavenly god burst out. He had seen Tianyan's power. Although it was not very heaven-defying, it was definitely not weak. Therefore, he attacked with 70 to 80% of his strength, wanting to kill Tianyan in one fell swoop. In the face of God Duan Rue's attack, Tianyan did not hesitate to meet it. After a fierce battle, he was sent flying and slightly injured. Even though his cultivation base had broken through, coupled with his crazy damage mode, he still could not kill an upper heavenly god head-on. The gap was still very huge, and he had jumped more than one realm. As expected of an upper heavenly god. "Let's go." The 5-dragon godly travel boots under Tianyan's feet swept up a burst of golden light, causing his speed to increase, and he quickly fled to the 3 realms. "You still want to leave?" God Duan Rue quickly caught up, closing the distance between him and Tianyan bit by bit. Staring at Tianyan's back, his eyes were bloodshot. As long as he killed Tianyan, then the 3 realms god realm would completely collapse. At the same time, he could also make a great contribution and be rewarded by the evil emperor. It would undoubtedly be better if he could capture him alive. Tianyan turned his head to look behind him, his eyes flashing with fear, which made God Duan Rue feel carefree. "Where's that arrogant energy from before? You were still suppressed by me." God Duan Rue's speed increased rapidly, and it suddenly increased to the limit. Compared to Tianyan's speed, he was much faster. Soon he was closing in on Tianyan, and there was only a short distance left before he completely caught up. Tianyan was still a short distance away from the 3-realm shield. As long as he could escape inside, everything would be fine. Tianyan was anxious, and so was God Duan Rue. If Tianyan escaped back, then he would have no chance at all. "Beast, don't even think of escaping." God Duan Rue stuffed the awakening crystal into his hand and unleashed all his power, causing his speed to increase sharply again. This caused the distance between them to shorten again. Soon, he was behind Tianyan, and he reached out to grab his shoulder. This time, he planned to capture him alive, not dead. The moment he was about to touch him, Tianyan's speed suddenly increased greatly, and he pulled away a short distance before completely entering the shield. God Duan Rue was infuriated when he saw this, but he did not stop. Instead, he rushed forward angrily. After he rushed over, he did not crash into the shield as he had imagined. Instead, he directly passed through the shield. "I'm in." God Duan Rue was overjoyed. He did not expect to be able to enter. Will there be a small loophole when he passes through the shield? Before he could react, Tianyun, who was escaping in front, quickly turned back and stabbed him with the five-dragon divine spear. At this moment, Tianyun seemed to have changed into a different person. His aura increased explosively, and the terrifying power made God Duan Rue's heart tremble. Power of Faith. Activate. Activate 100 times damage stacking. When the power of faith was fully activated, it stacked another 100 times damage. Coupled with the crazy damage mode, it was already 228 times the damage, and this was without any additional damage. In an instant, Etienne's combat power was directly above God Duan Rue's. He was not afraid of God Duan Rue, but he deliberately attracted God Duan Rue here, and then used the power of faith to deal with God Duan Rue. Since he could not deal with him outside, why not drag him back to the three realms God realm? This was his God realm, his world. Chapter 1670. After the outburst, Etienne did not waste any time. Without hesitation, he swung his spear and attacked fiercely. With more than 200 times his combat power was extremely terrifying. The five-dragon godly boots on his feet also erupted with full power. The three celestial venerable spiritual treasures connected together, and it was as if he had transformed into a giant dragon. The five-dragon divine spear was the dragon's head, the gauntlet was the dragon's body, and the boots were the dragon's tail. After they were connected, the speed of his sprint increased dramatically, and he charged toward heaven God Duan Rue in one breath. Five-dragon roar! Etienne immediately used his most powerful technique. Five giant dragons whizzed over and surrounded heaven God Duan Rue. This aura, what's going on? Heaven God Duan Rue felt a chill in his heart. He had seen the scene of Etienne killing his companions before, but his aura was definitely not this strong. Therefore, he felt that even if he faced Etienne with full power, he was confident that he could take him down. Who knew that Etienne's strength could be even stronger? The unparalleled aura made him feel more pressure. Damn it, could it be that I've finally revealed my true strength? Heaven God Duan Rue finally realized that he had really been fooled and completely fooled. He had thought that Etienne was afraid that he would run back, but it turned out that he had deliberately lured him in and chosen to kill him. This way, his companions would not be able to support him. Heaven God Duan Rue thought too much. The real situation was that Etienne could only use the power of faith after coming in. Outside, there was no way to use the power of faith. If he could use the power of faith outside, he would really be able to kill Heaven God Duan Rue without having to run back to attack. After all, with this power, the first sneak attack could already kill Heaven God Duan Rue. Why would he need to lure him back? Now that things had come to this, Heaven God Duan Rue knew that he had no choice but to summon the heavenly god spiritual treasure and prepare to fight. Etienne also used his strongest power to fight Heaven God Duan Rue. Even with the power of faith, it was still not easy to fight. Boom, boom, boom. The terrifying explosion spread out in the god realm of the three realms. The violent shockwaves immediately spread out, and many cultivators sensed it. However, before the battle, Etienne had already warned them to stay away from the battle. After the explosion, Duan Rue dodged to the side, his heart incomparably shocked. His strength is really much stronger than before. It's not even on the same level. This is equivalent to the upper heavenly god level. He swept a cold glance at Etienne. Just as he was about to continue his battle with Etienne, a cold light flashed behind him. He had just dodged to the side, and because of the explosion, he could not see clearly in front of him. He believed that Etienne did not know where he was either, but when he felt a sense of danger, he knew that his location had been discovered. Poochies! Everything happened so quickly that even if he sensed the danger, it was already too late. With astonishing speed, it easily pierced through his head and nailed him to the void. Why your strength? How did it become so strong? Duan Rue's head had already been pierced through, but he still retained a little bit of consciousness. There's no need for you to know. Tianyun did not waste time with him. He twisted the 5-dragon divine spear in his hand and instantly exploded Duan Rue's head. A heavenly god died just like that. He knew in advance where Duan Rue was hiding. Naturally, it was the Fecta Divine Fan. Before the attack, he used the Fecta Divine Fan to divine the situation of Duan Rue's battle. Although he could not divine everything, there was no problem with the first few steps. After the divination, everything was much easier. Using his advantage here, he could instantly move to Duan Rue's location and carry out the strongest sneak attack. After all, he could go anywhere in the god realm of the 3 realms with just a thought. Wouldn't he be a fool if he did not use such an advantage? Therefore, in the god realm of the 3 realms, no one could compete with him in terms of speed. He could escape with one teleport or appear behind or in front of them with one familiar move. Even the evil emperor would find this terrifying power very troublesome to deal with. However, it was only troublesome. If the heretical emperor vented his anger on his subjects, it would not be a good thing. Therefore, Tianyun still had to be careful. If there were no subjects here, he would really want to let them all in and exhaust them to death. I can finally kill a higher heavenly god. If I wasn't here, it would be very difficult to kill him. Tianyun shook his head. If they were outside, he would have no choice but to turn and run. His current strength was still far too weak. After he killed God Duan Rue, he felt a gaze filled with murderous intent staring at him. He turned his head and saw a familiar figure appear in front of him. This person was none other than an old acquaintance, Heavenly God Sky Cloud. Tianyun remembered that Heavenly God Torrential Cloud didn't come to fight with him before, so he didn't expect him to appear in front of him now. Tianyun was a little surprised, but it was reasonable. He guessed that Heavenly God Sky Cloud had volunteered to come here after learning that he had appeared in the god realm of the 3 realms. That was indeed the case. After learning that Tianyun was here, Heavenly God Sky Cloud had volunteered to keep an eye on him. Tianyun had humiliated him so much and humiliated him within the evil spirit race. How could he tolerate this? As such, he immediately requested to come and kill Tianyun in order to wash away his shame. However, by the time he arrived, it was already too late. His companion had died at the hands of Tianyun. This made his heart tremble. One had to realize that Tianyun had been beaten to a pulp by him. If it weren't for Patriarch Heaven cultivation, he really would have crushed Tianyun to death. Now his understanding of Tianyun had been completely upended. How had he become so powerful? Although Heavenly God Duan Rue was not as powerful as him, he was still a higher heavenly god. Yet he had been killed by Tianyun. He had seen everything that had happened just now. After all, he was unable to use his spiritual sense to scan the area clearly. However, he knew that it was Tianyun who had killed his companion, and that was enough for him. And Lin was able to kill his companion without any help. This was far beyond his expectations. "Oh, Heavenly God Sky Cloud, we meet again," Tianyun said with a smile as he flew over to the barrier. Heavenly God Sky Cloud looked at him with a dark expression. It was not going to be easy to kill Tianyun now. In particular, whether or not Tianyun would let him was another matter. Chapter 1671. Even though Tianyun had become much more powerful, Empyrean God Torrential Cloud was confident that he could still deal with him. Besides, if he didn't go in, he wouldn't have a chance to kill Tianyun. He would have no choice but to watch from the outside. His original plan was to wait for Tianyun to come out. If Tianyun didn't come out, then he would kill his subordinates and force Tianyun to come out. Tianyun looked at Empyrean God Torrential Cloud. It had to be said that Empyrean God Torrential Cloud lived up to his reputation as a patriarch. His overall combat prowess was far superior to that of Empyrean God Duan Rue. They were both early-stage Empyrean gods, but Empyrean God Torrential Cloud was much more powerful. Only by comparing them could one tell where the disparity lay. That's not a problem. Tianyun looked at Empyrean god Torrential Cloud as he calculated his chances of defeating him. After all, when Empyrean god Torrential Cloud unleashed his full power, he would undoubtedly be even more monstrous. As such, he had to think carefully before letting him in. He didn't care if he was injured, but if Empyrean god Torrential Cloud went berserk, he wouldn't be able to stop him. If that happened, the Three Realms God realm would probably be affected. That wouldn't be a good thing. Then why don't you let me in? Empyrean god Torrential Cloud pressed himself against the barrier and motioned for Tianyun to let him in. Can we talk about the past here? If you want to say something, you can say it now. Tianyun had no choice but to let Empyrean god Torrential Cloud in. Who knew if Empyrean god Torrential Cloud would go berserk and attack his subjects first instead of him? Looks like you're scared. Where's your courage? You were able to kill even Empyrean god Duanrue. Are you scared of me? Empyrean god Torrential Cloud looked at Tianyun with a disdainful and provocative expression. Either come out or let me in. The choice is yours. Didn't we agree to talk about the past? Fighting and killing is not my style. Tianyun waved his hand, and a wine table appeared next to him, and he started to drink slowly. *T. Don't talk so much. Just tell me, do you have the guts to come out and fight with me? Either you let me in and fight. It's your choice. Heavenly God Sky Cloud couldn't even be bothered to bicker with Tianyun. He wanted nothing more than to tear Tianyun's face to shreds. I choose to sit here and watch you jump around like a monkey. Tianyun smiled and took a sip of wine. He looked at him as if he was looking at a monkey. Coward, weaklings, lowly humans. Come out and fight me if you have the guts. Don't hide in there. Heavenly God Skywave roared with rage. If you have what it takes, then break the shield and enter. That way, I will fight you, Tianyun said with a smile. Aren't you just spouting nonsense? If I could break through the barrier, I would have gone in long ago, Empyrean God Tower Cloud said angrily. If I can't break it, then there's nothing I can do. If you can't even break through a barrier, what right do you have to fight me? Tianyun chuckled. *T. Empyrean God Sky Cloud was about to explode with rage. This is a barrier given to you by the heavens. I don't know how lucky you are to have something like this. How am I supposed to break it? If you know what you're saying, then why should I go out and fight you? I have this thing to protect me, so why should I give it up? Tianyun looked at him with a disdainful expression. If you have what it takes, why don't you cut off half of your cultivation base and fight me again? Your cultivation base is so much higher than mine, and you still want to fight me? How shameless! Empyrean God Sky Cloud was about to throw up blood from rage. I'm on the same level as Empyrean God Duanrue. If he can do it, then I can't. It's not that you can't. Walk around the outside and bark like a dog, and I'll let you in. Tianyun waved his wine glass, indicating for him to bark like a dog. You're the one who's going to bark like a dog, you lowly human. Empyrean God Sky Cloud was naturally aware of what a dog was. It was an even lower level pet, so barking like a dog was tantamount to barking like a dog. Well, you can have fun outside. Tianyun didn't bother to pay attention to him and continued to drink the wine. All right, don't come out for the rest of your life if you dare. I'll stand guard outside for the rest of my life. I refuse to believe that you won't come out. Empyrean God Sky Cloud was about to explode from rage, and he had no choice but to threaten him. Got it, little dog. Tianyun raised his glass and smiled at him. After all, only a dog will stay at the door of my house and help me guard the door. Thank you very much. As a token of my appreciation, I'll treat you to a drink. He tossed the wine glass in his hand through the barrier as he spoke, which flew toward Empyrean God Sky Cloud. However, it was crushed viciously as soon as it reached Empyrean God Sky Cloud. How dare you insult me over and over again? I hope you don't fall into my hands for the rest of your life. Empyrean God Sky Cloud was very enraged, but he had no other choice. The barrier couldn't be broken, so what could he do? He was starting to regret coming here. He was about to explode from rage at the hands of Tianyun, but he still couldn't charge in. Wait, I'm willing to let you in, Tianyun said. Really? Empyrean God Sky, Cloud's eyes lit up. Of course, but I'll only let you in with your head. You'll have to sever the rest of your body, Tianyun said with a smile. In that case, I'll let you in. You're messing with me? Empyrean God Sky Cloud gritted his teeth. If he went in with only his head, he would die. Even if his body could recover, it wouldn't be able to do so in a short time. I'm not messing with you. If you do that, I promise to let you in. Tianyun patted his chest with a smile. Boom! Empyrean God Sky Cloud's fist slammed into the barrier, but he didn't use much force. Instead, he glowered at Enlin with killing intent in his eyes. I don't have time to waste with you. Just remember, don't ever come out. He turned to leave as he spoke. He didn't want to stay here any longer. If he stayed here, he would only be toyed with and wouldn't receive any substantial benefits. After he had left for a distance, Tianyun suddenly stood up and stepped out of the barrier with a smile on his face. I'm already out. Empyrean God Sky Cloud immediately turned to look at him. Don't go back if you dare. All Tianyun had to do was take a step back, and he would be able to go back in. He still wouldn't be able to catch Tianyun. Don't worry, I definitely won't go back this time. Tianyun continued to make his way toward Empyrean God Sky Cloud. However, I won't be the only one here to entertain you. At this moment, several figures appeared in quick succession, all of which possessed extremely terrifying auras. Not only had the patriarch of the Heaven Cultivation God Realm come, but even the realm leader of the Dragon You God Realm had also come. Chapter 1672. Heavenly God Sky Cloud's expression instantly shifted upon seeing the powerful beings surrounding him. He couldn't sense any energy fluctuations around him. It should be said that his attention is attracted by Tianyun. From the beginning to the end, Tianyun attracted his attention. In particular, he was constantly trying to infuriate him, so much so that he didn't even notice his surroundings. By the time he noticed it, it was already too late. There were so many powerful beings surrounding him, creating a massive ceiling formation. This time, he wouldn't be able to escape as easily as last time. In other words, there was no way he could escape at all, not even if he used his escape treasure. The space around him had already been sealed, and unless the mighty figure who saved him was a bit more powerful, it would be very difficult for them to pass through space and save him. So you've been stalling for time this entire time? How despicable! Heavenly God Sky Cloud glared at him with an extremely cold, killing intent in his eyes. The power within his body was quickly activated to the maximum, and he was ready to unleash his full power at a moment's notice. Despicable? How can I be despicable when dealing with you evil spirit tribe beings? Compared to your despicable acts, our despicable acts are nothing. A faint smile appeared on Tianyun's face. He felt like this heavenly God Sky Cloud was a complete joke. He definitely wasn't going to talk to the evil spirit tribe beings about honesty or fairness. All of that was *T. He had to be more vicious and devious when dealing with him. If he showed even the slightest bit of mercy, he would definitely be the one to die. His enemies weren't going to give up on killing them just because they begged for mercy. They would still kill those who had to be killed, and they would still devour those who had to be devoured. Softening their hearts was like turning a rock into tofu. In the next instant, Heavenly God Sky Cloud charged toward Tianyun without uttering a single word. During their conversation, he had already activated his power to the maximum, and he immediately unleashed it. At the same time, he stuffed an awakening crystal into his mouth to awaken his own power. He had already awakened his power once before, but he had paid a very heavy price to recover it, so the power of his power hadn't diminished in the slightest. Even if I die, I'm going to make you die with me. Heavenly God Sky Cloud wanted to drag someone down with him. No matter what, he had to kill Tianyun first. In the blink of an eye, Heavenly God Torrential Cloud had already reached Tianyun. He swung a palm down with devastating force, and an inky black energy engulfed everything. Tianyun had a smile on his face, as if everything was within his expectations. However, he did not move. He still stood where he was, as if he had been scared silly. The next moment, it proved that he was not scared silly. A barrier of light suddenly appeared in front of Tianyan, keeping heavenly god torrential clouds' attack at bay. At the same time, the barrier of light continued to envelop heavenly god torrential cloud. Even Empyrean god tower cloud had been enveloped by this ring of light, and it was gradually shrinking. Upon closer inspection, he discovered that these were all realm lords or patriarch-level beings who had joined forces to set up this grand formation that had trapped heavenly god's surging clouds within. How could Empyrean god Tower Cloud possibly injure Tianyan when so many powerful Empyrean gods had set up a formation to trap him? Let's see how you're going to escape this time. Empyrean god Tower Cloud. One of the heaven cultivation god realm patriarchs harumphed coldly. Empyrean god Tower Cloud had snuck into the three realms for so long, but they were completely unaware of this. This made them extremely angry. As soon as they learned of what was happening, they immediately rushed over to provide reinforcements. Even if they had nothing to do with the three realms god realm, they would still rush over to provide reinforcements. Empyrean god Tower Cloud had been blacklisted by the heaven cultivation god realm long ago. They had to capture him or kill him no matter what. Thus, their army had set out to completely seal off this place, trapping Empyrean god Tower Cloud in his carelessness. You want to capture me? It won't be that easy. Empyrean god Tower Cloud let out an enraged roar as he unleashed all of his Empyrean god spirit treasures. He was willing to pay any price to unleash their most powerful attacks against the barrier. Following a series of ferocious attacks, the barrier began to loosen slightly. He had unleashed all of his power, and he was even willing to damage his Empyrean god spirit treasures in order to unleash this power, so it naturally wouldn't be weak. Boom, boom, boom. The barrage of attacks did indeed cause the barrier to crack a little, but with the support of so many Empyrean gods, it was able to remain intact. Empyrean god Tower Cloud was only putting up a desperate fight. As long as he continued to suppress the barrier, Empyrean god Tower Cloud would definitely be trapped to death. As time passed, Empyrean god Tower Cloud's struggles became completely futile. In the end, Empyrean god Torrential Cloud was completely sealed off. His body was surrounded by multiple rings, completely locking him in place, as well as the power within his body. He was no different from a piece of trash now. He couldn't even move, let alone fight back. At most, he would only be able to say a few words. Got him! They were ecstatic. They had finally captured Empyrean god Tower Cloud. Now, they would be able to give the heaven cultivation god realm an explanation. Arf! You pieces of trash! Empyrean god Tower Cloud wanted to break free, but he was completely unable to move. After this bout of consumption, he was already somewhat exhausted, and it was even more impossible for him to struggle free. Empyrean god Tower Cloud, we've finally captured you. One of the patriarchs flew down and looked at him with a cold expression. If it weren't for the fact that the vile emperor isn't here, all of you would be dead already. Empyrean god Tower Cloud roared. The vile emperor definitely wasn't going to stay here any longer. After giving some instructions, he hurried back to take care of the situation. Huan Mingyue had been captured, and there was still a lot of work to be done. After all, he had significantly impacted their progress. There was no way he was going to stay here forever. He would rather send more powerful beings to guard this place than come here in person. It wasn't that he didn't have the patience. It was just that there was no need for him to do this. What he had to do was far more important. The problem is that he's not here. Tianyan flew over to him. If he was here, I wouldn't have come out, idiot. Empyrean god Tower Cloud glared at him and gritted his teeth. Don't think that you can hide in there forever. There's no point in hiding in there. When the battle between the god emperors begins, and you're the only power left, you'll know what kind of enemy you're facing. The battle between the god emperors begins? How long before it begins? Tianyan asked. There's no need for you to know that. By the time you realize what's going to happen, everything will have already been reduced to dust. Empyrean god Tower Cloud roared with laughter. He felt like everything was a joke. Even if he was about to die, he wasn't fearful in the slightest. To them, as long as the vile emperor became the god emperor, they would be resurrected. Chapter 1673. After heavenly god sky cloud was taken away, the surroundings quickly returned to normal. However, Etienne's heart was not calm at all. Even though he didn't know when the battle between the god emperors would begin, he believed that it would happen very soon. Everything would come at an extremely fast speed and catch them off guard. That was what heavenly god sky cloud had said. Everything would be over before they could react. This meant that the army would be mobilized very soon. As for when, that was not very clear. Even Huan Mingyue didn't know this. Her main responsibility was to control the barrier. She had no right to do anything. Thus, it was normal that she didn't know. The information she knew was limited. A full-scale attack. Etienne thought back to the evil spirit tribe that had been constantly setting up teleportation portals. It looked like the war was really about to come. Once it came, their targets would naturally be the Yuelong God Realm and the Heaven Cultivation God Realm. These two God Realms would be the first to be destroyed. The reason was very simple. They wanted to steal the evil spirit's pearl. As for the Fecta God Realm, it was only a matter of time before it was discovered. Only his place was slightly safer and could last for another 1,000 years. If all the other forces were taken over, it would be an extremely tragic thing. When that time came, he would be the only force left. The evil spirit tribe would be eyeing this place covetously. That would be the most tragic thing. When the barrier disappeared, his god realm of the three realms would be instantly torn to pieces. When he returned to the god realm of the three realms, everything was the same. There were no problems. With the protection of the barrier, the cultivators inside naturally had a very easy time. Of course, they never allowed these cultivators to have a very easy time. There were still all kinds of danger zones. There was no guarantee of safety after entering, and they would still die. Without this kind of cruel training, they would definitely panic when faced with danger in the future. Those with higher cultivation bases could go to other god realms to train, and the level of danger was naturally higher. It's time to increase my speed. Otherwise, I won't be able to keep up. Etienne looked at the situation. With the help of the Fecta God Realm, the situation had improved greatly. With so many cores set up, the cultivation area had improved greatly, which greatly increased their breakthroughs. Under such favorable conditions, their situation naturally improved rapidly. However, it was still too slow. There was still a long way to go before he could successfully complete the main mission. After all, he needed to complete the highest level of the main mission, which required him to be an Empyrean in order to complete the corresponding mission. All of them need to be at the Empyrean level. The difficulty is really high. The main mission was divided into several stages. Etienne only wanted to complete the highest difficulty, which was roughly 30 lower celestial venerables, 10 middle celestial venerables, and 5 upper celestial venerables. Since he had previously completed a special mission, which was the Alliance mission, he could reduce the requirements by half. This way, they only needed 15 lower Empyreans, 5 middle Empyreans, and 3 upper Empyreans. Although it was halved, the overall difficulty was still not low. From the start until now, there had not been a single heavenly venerate. It was already pretty good to have a divine lord, much less a heavenly venerate. Fortunately, all the people he had recruited were counted. For example, Venerate Fengxiu and the newly joined Heavenly Goddess Luck were both included. However, heavenly gods like the Heavenly God of Luck could only fill in for the upper Heavenly Venerate at most. Overall, they were only lacking lower Heavenly Venerables and middle Heavenly Venerables. It would be quite difficult to get so many Heavenly Venerables to join him. Etienne also did not want to recruit all these powerhouses. This would undoubtedly be detrimental to his development. We still need a lot of time to develop. Etienne shook his head. There was still a lot of time for them to break through. Then, his figure flashed and appeared beside Huan Mingyue. Huan Mingyue was still meditating in place. Her forehead was covered in cold sweat, but it quickly evaporated. When Etienne came in, she slowly opened her eyes. A hint of fatigue could be seen in her beautiful eyes. It was clear that it was very difficult to break this slave contract. "You're here. What's the situation outside?" Did that bastard chase after us? She was very worried about the situation. If the evil emperor chased after them, it would not be a good thing. See for yourself. Etienne threw over a recording disc and let Huan Mingyue see the contents herself. After Huan Mingyue took it, she began to read the contents. Her expression was very interesting. The content recorded was naturally that the evil emperor had led a large group of powerhouses to constantly attack the barrier. Later, they had even sent out their divine will, but it was of no use. This is too amazing. I've never seen such a magical barrier. It's like that barrier. Huan Mingyue was overjoyed. This way, she was undoubtedly very safe. This way, you can break it without worry. How much have you broken now? Etienne said with a smile. I've broken about half of it. Just a little more time, and I'll be able to break it. Huan Mingyue had been breaking it for a few years. Time flowed very quickly here. A month outside was a few years here. It was dozens of times faster. No matter what, Etienne will definitely arrange for her to be in this kind of room so that she can use every second to break the seal. Time. Etienne narrowed his eyes. What if I expand this great formation to the entire three realms God realm? What he needed now was time, and a lot of time. However, a time formation was not that easy to set up. The time and manpower required were extremely large. The more people cultivated inside, the more resources would be expended. As such, only a small number of cultivation sites would provide this kind of time formation. As for covering the entire God realm, that was almost impossible. The resources required could only be described as terrifying. However, Etienne couldn't care less now. He had to increase his overall strength immediately. Soon, he went to find the heavenly misfortune god and the god spirit tribe patriarch. I have a bold plan now, and that is to set up time formations on all the planets. Set them up at all costs. Can you do it? Etienne looked at them with a scorching gaze. I don't want to say how high the level, but it has to be at least 10 times faster than normal. After hearing this plan, they were initially taken aback. The heavenly misfortune god and the others turned their heads and said, that would consume too many resources. I don't recommend doing this. Setting up a small portion is fine, but setting up a large portion is really not advisable. The time required, no problem. The elders of the Divine Spirit clan shouted at the same time, full of fighting spirit. Chapter 1674. As the core members of the God realm of the three realms, all of them agreed that they could do it. They didn't care why Etienne had this idea, but as long as Etienne gave them the mission, they would do it. All right, then I'll leave it to you. If you need any resources, you can ask Celestial Empress. Etienne nodded at Shi Shuiyun, indicating that he would leave this to Shi Shuiyun. All right, let's go set it up right now. They moved swiftly, immediately leaving this place to set up the time formation. The heavenly misfortune god and the others were all dumbstruck. They didn't even have the chance to voice any doubts. Wasn't this a little too decisive? From a rational point of view, this expenditure was simply too astonishing, and it was detrimental to the development of the God realm of the three realms. Maintaining so many time formations required an astronomical amount of resources. Otherwise, most of the God realm would already be doing this, and there wouldn't be only a small portion of areas that could be used to set up time formations. Heavenly venerate heavenly cloud. Isn't this a little too much? You're going to exhaust yourself to death by setting up so many time formations. I'd rather you set up a small portion of the area. That way, you'll still be able to sustain it. If you set up too many time formations, you'll expend a lot of resources at once. The heavenly misfortune god was very experienced in this regard, and she began to do some calculations for Etienne. Maintaining a time formation requires a lot of resources. Even if it's only 10 times the flow of time, it'll require. Heavenly misfortune god, do you know why they're so obedient to my instructions? Etienne interjected with a smile. You're the realm leader, so they'll definitely listen to your orders. The heavenly misfortune god replied. No, they think that since I've spoken, then I have the ability to resolve this issue, so there's no need for them to worry about it, Etienne explained with a smile. That's That's impossible. So many resources are required. Just spirit stones alone will require a huge amount of resources. That doesn't even include other resources. There are simply too many things required, and it's not something that can be easily filled. Heavenly God Misfortune shook his head. Even their affected divine realm would not be able to fill this gap so easily. Tell me, is what you're thinking about going to last for a long time? Tianyin looked at the two sisters. Yes, for a long period of time. Not too long, but at least 1,000 years. The amount of resources required for this is quite terrifying. Heavenly God Misfortune did some calculations and was quite astonished. I'm very sorry. What I need is a short-term one. Even if it can't last for 1,000 years, 100 years is enough. Tianyin looked at them indifferently and said, the battle between the God Emperors is coming soon. What's the point of keeping so many resources? Are you going to bury them with yourself? They were stunned. Only now did they understand why Tianyin was so anxious. It was because of the battle between God Emperors. If he thought about it carefully, that was indeed the case. Their habitual thinking made them think of the terrifying amount of resources from the very beginning. Now that he thought about it carefully, he realized that what the three realms God realm lacked right now was powerhouses. What it lacked was an increase in overall strength. Now that they had all the outstanding cultivation sites, all they lacked was time. The time formation could undoubtedly fill this gap, but the problem was that it would expend too many resources. However, maintaining it for 100 years was not an issue. This would undoubtedly buy them a lot of time, especially for the battle between the God Emperors that Tianyin was talking about. If the battle between the God Emperors came, they wouldn't have time to use all the resources they had. Now that you mention it, that does seem to be the case. The heavenly God Misfortune and the others were extremely embarrassed. They hadn't thought about this for a while. Even if time is accelerated, 100 years is only 1,000 years. For most cultivators, that's only the blink of an eye. But for us, it's a race against time. Tianyin spoke with a serious expression. I don't know when the battle between the God Emperors will begin, but every little bit of time is a little bit of time. If the battle between the God Emperors only begins in 200 years, then we'll be able to cultivate for another 1,000 years. Perhaps when the time comes, our forces still won't be able to match the power of the other major forces, but at least we'll be able to put up a fight against the evil spirit race. Tianyin was making such sacrifices in preparation for the upcoming battle. He couldn't protect the three realms God realm forever, so he had to become more powerful as soon as possible. According to the time limit of the barrier, it could last for about 1,000 years. However, if the battle between the God Emperors were to erupt within 100 years, then he couldn't just watch as the forces outside were destroyed while they hid here, right? As long as the forces outside were destroyed, his side wouldn't be far from destruction. He might have the support of the system, but if he didn't have absolute power, then there was no way he could protect the three realms God realm. As such, they would have to rely on themselves for the future. Whether they could survive or not would depend on themselves. He had always hoped that there wouldn't be any large-scale casualties in the three realms God realm, but there were some things that he couldn't control, so he could only minimize the losses. The best thing to do now was to buy as much time as possible for this battle. Realm ruler Heavenly Cloud, we were too naive. The heavenly luck goddess said awkwardly. Our affected divine realm has always been spending too much on resources, and it's almost impossible for us to make up for our lack of resources. It's all right. Your idea is also very good, so your plan will definitely be very reasonable. However, this is a critical period, so we can only use this method. Tianyin said in a solemn voice, in my opinion, the true battle will erupt in less than 100 years. The evil spirit race was very active, and it was clear that they were going to erupt in the near future. It was very unlikely that they would be able to survive for another 1,000 years. When that time came, this place would become a safe place, and the rest of the regions would fall into darkness. All right, if that's the case, then we'll help set up a special time formation that can accelerate time by more than 50 times. However, that's going to be quite costly. The two of them turned to Tianyin with smiles. Tianyin's eyes lit up. Then I'll leave it to the two of you. Just set it up in a special region. The more rapid the flow of time, the more costly it would be, so it would undoubtedly be best to set it up in a special region. For example, they would require more contribution points in order to enter seclusion. For those who have performed well and made great contributions, the required contribution points would be lowered to allow them to stay in the sect for a longer period of time. After coming up with a plan, they all set off to set up the formation. Etienne murmured to himself as he looked at their departing figures. Looks like I'll have to make some preparations too. That you're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.